Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Semantic Mastery, and today is June 13th, 2022. Today we're going to be going through the YACSS, which is yet another cloud stacking software bonus webinar that I promised everybody, which is specifically my semantic links method of injecting topical trust flow or manipulating topical trust flow to make the cloud stacks or cloud pages so much more valuable. Topical relevance is really where it's at. That is kind of my own discoveries from testing lots of link building over the last close to a year now. I spent well over 10 grand on backlinks from traditional backlink providers like guest posts and link insertions, or another term for that is niche edits. And I mean, I've spent as much as $350 on one backlink and found very, very little movement from it. And I've spent over 10 grand on legit alone, just buying different types of PBN backlinks and different bulk backlink services and everything else. And what I've come to the realization of about 6 months ago, well, not quite fully 6 months ago, probably 3 or 4 months ago, was that topical relevance matters in backlinks. Guys, we're in the semantic web. Okay, so what 2 or 3 years ago, we used to be able to go out and just purchase links that had high URDR metrics or PADA metrics or high traffic metrics, and we could get significant movement from those types of links, are no longer providing that kind of movement. Now, how do I know that? Like I said, I've spent thousands and thousands, well over 10K on backlinks and from all different types of sources. But I purchased guest posts, niche edits, or link insertions, again, as much as $350 for one damn backlink, and found that it did little to nothing or very little movement from it. And so I started investigating, like, why is it that these links are so damn expensive and they're not producing a very good result? And I found that when you buy like a guest post, right, like even a high quality guest post, there is link relevance. Link relevance is kind of a way, like a measure, a gauge of how valuable that link is. And there's certain things that you can do to make link relevance, to increase link relevance, such as if you're like, and here's the difference between like a guest post and a niche edit, or a link insertion is another term for niche edit. So if I use one or the other, they're interchangeable. Okay. But niche edits are typically less powerful than a guest post, because you don't have control over the H1 tag. So the H1 header, which is the title of the page or the post that it's on. If you can get your keyword in the page title, and also it's the same keyword that you use. So if you get the main keyword that you're going to use as your anchor text in the title, then the link relevance is higher. In other words, it's a more valuable link. So that's like one thing, that a guest post is typically better than a niche edit, except a niche edit oftentimes is already indexed, and it's oftentimes an aged post. So sometimes it already has backlinks pointing to it and everything else. And also if it's not an orphaned niche edit, and we're going to talk about orphaned pages and posts in a minute. But if it's not orphaned, then it also is usually benefiting. A niche edit is usually going to benefit from internal link juice flowing to that page or post where your link is inserted, right? That's why it's called a niche edit or a link insertion, because they just go into an existing post, find an appropriate passage or add an appropriate passage, and then inject or insert the link into that, right? So that you get a anchor text link pointing back to your target page in an already published page. Like I said, generally, you're not going to have the keyword sometimes you can, but not always you're going to have the exact keyword in the page title. And that actually improves link relevance if you have the keyword that is in your anchor text also in the page title. Okay. However, with guest posts, so oftentimes you can control that. If you're going to a higher quality guest post provider, you oftentimes get to review the content before it's published. You can ask to have the keyword inserted into the title, or you can provide the title that you want. And things like that. And so generally you're going to get, in either case, a niche edit or a guest post, you're generally going to get a link placed within a relevant article. So that the page or the post, the content of that page is going to be topically relevant to your intended target. And by the way, if you're buying niche edits, only unless you know the source, like you have a good quality niche edit provider, which I'm going to advise against all of them anyways, because it's not as good as what I'm going to share with you guys today. And I'm going to give you guys literally the exact process that I use for my link building business. Okay. So that's why I don't buy niche edits or guest posts anymore, because of what I'm going to show you guys today. But if you are buying niche edits, a lot of the times you will get your link placed into a post that, like at, surface level view, like it might seem like it's relevant, but it's really not. A great tool out there for determining what the topical categorization is of a page that you are going to get a link placed within or already has a link placed within is on-page.ai, which is Eric Lancheraz's kind of tool for NLP analysis, entity analysis for content tuning, things like that. It's called on-page.ai. Many of you are probably familiar with it. It's expensive, but it's a damn good tool. And it has it has this function as part of, kind of like the content AI tuning side of it, which is like NLP and entity analysis. It also has what is called guest post predictor and predictive and backlink analysis. And what you can do is actually go analyze using Google's NLP to determine what the overall topical relevance is of a particular page or post. And so like with predictive guest posts, you can take content that you're going to publish with a link placed back to your target asset and paste it into on-page.ai and have it analyze it and determine what the overall topical relevance is of that page in very specific topical categories. And you can very quickly tune a piece of content to be more relevant to what you need it for, right? And so oftentimes with like niche edits, it might look like it's relevant, but if you were to run it in through a tool like that, you'll see that it's not really topically, it's maybe a related topic, but it's not, especially with niche edits. With guest posts, it's generally going to be very relevant. But with niche edits, oftentimes they will just find somewhere where there's your word combination appears, and they'll hack that link in. Well, I say hack, but that's what a niche edit is. Not always is it hacked, but they'll insert a link into that content, and then they'll send it to you and say, well, there you go, it's relevant. Well, a lot of times it's not. And that's, I mean, again, and that's just from my own experience from testing with a lot of different link providers, that niche edits aren't very topically relevant, but a lot of the times. All of that though is to say, like, first of all, the topical relevance is incredibly important, but on a guest post where you generally have more control, you're going to usually get a very topically relevant article. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is why I found that it doesn't work nearly as well as what they used to, is they sell these links based upon metrics like PA&DA, MAS metrics, right? So page authority and domain authority, or Ahref metrics, which you probably see more commonly, those metrics now. So UR and DR. So what is it? URL rank and domain rank or whatever. I don't use Ahrefs, but I'm just familiar with the metrics. And then sometimes traffic metrics too. And so that's why, like, the higher the third party metrics and the higher the traffic, the more expensive the link is. So yes, you can get a link in a topically relevant page or post if it's a guest post, generally. Niche edits, sometimes it's questionable, as I just mentioned. But what about the source domain where that article is being published? What is the overall topical relevance of that source domain? And if there's a mismatch there, then that link that you just purchased for sometimes hundreds of dollars is going to have less value than if you were to go out and find your own domain that you can register because it's expired, that already has a topical, already has topical relevance, an inbound link profile, so an external link profile that is already topically relevant to what you need it to be for your intended target. And so what I'm saying is I've spent over $300 on, guest post links that had less effect than a link that I can place on a domain that I register for 10 to 15 bucks, publish some relevant content on it, and then, have a link back to my target asset. A lot of the times I get better results from those than I did from links that I paid hundreds of dollars for. And that's not a joke. And so, and again, we're in the semantic web, guys. It makes sense. Think about this. you can get a link placed in a relevant article, but if the source domain itself isn't very relevant, cannot Google very quickly, algorithmically, without a manual review, can't the algorithm crawl that backlink that's pointing to your site, look at the page and say, okay, the page is relevant, but then look at the domain itself, the source domain, and realize that it's not really relevant, right? And so that link doesn't, it's not that that link becomes harmful or toxic in it, but it just is devalued, right? That's one of the easiest ways that algorithmically Google can discredit link spam, is by crawling the source where the link is placed. So there's the page source and then the domain source, right? So there's the referring page and the referring domain. And the first thing it does is it crawls the domain, it crawls the backlink, it crawls the anchor text, it crawls, the anchor text or from, if it's crawling from the source site, but looking backwards, right? So crawling links that are pointing at a target domain, it looks at the page source first. And yes, if there, it kind of scores the page, kind of like domain, quality score of a site, right? It scores the page and okay, this is relevant, but then it looks back at the entire domain and determines what the relevance, the topical relevance is of that particular site. And that's why, like I said, you're oftentimes buying metrics, but you're not buying relevance. You think you are because you're buying an article that's going to be relevant, or a niche edit and link insertion within a relevant article. So yes, you think it's relevant, but the source domain, the referring domain itself, is not topically relevant. And so it's very quickly that can be devalued. Not, again, it may still provide some benefit, but not as much as if you can get a link that is not only the referring page is relevant, but the referring domain is relevant as well. That's a much more valuable link, and you can generally do that for a lot less cost. Okay, so that kind of sets the stage. Now, very quickly, just about orphaned posts as well. You got to be very, very careful, because I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on links, niche edits or guest posts that were sold on metrics, and then come to find out after it's been published 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks down the road, that the page has 0 metrics. And why is that? Because they sell you on domain metrics, and then they publish a damn post that has no internal links. There's no way to get to it from clicking on the site. So it's an orphaned post. In other words, there's no other internal links pointing to it. So and trust me, there's a service out there. I'm not going to name it because I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. But there's a service out there that I spent almost $3,000 on various guest posts over the course of about 4 or 5 months. And about 70% out of all the links that I purchased, let's say I purchased 10, I purchased more than that, but let's say I purchased 10 links, 7 out of those 10 were orphaned. And some of those links I paid, $200 for, $250 for. And it drove me up a wall that people get away with this, but in the SEO industry, it is rife with that kind of shit. People sell you guest posts that are on metrics that post that they're going to sell you is never going to benefit from any of those metrics. And my point is this: if you're going to go buy a guest post that's going to be orphaned, that gets no benefit from no internal link flow, no metrics, it doesn't inherit any metrics from the domain itself, because there's no internal links pointing to it, then you just bought yourself a glorified Web 2.0. Think about that, because you can go out and publish a Blogger blog or WordPress or Tumblr or something like that, and publish an article on a Blogger blog that now has 0 metrics, but you need to build links to that in order to power it up. Well, the same goes with an orphan guest post. If you buy an orphan guest post, it has 0 benefit from the domain metrics that they sold you on, right? And so you still have to build links to it. And so what's the point in spending hundreds of dollars on a fucking, pardon my language, but I get irritated about that stuff, but spend hundreds of dollars on a guest post that is orphaned, that then you have to build links to in order for it to be valuable at all, right? So I'm just cautioning you guys against that. If you are in the habit of purchasing those kind of links, go back and check them a few weeks after you purchased them. Now, if you got a good provider that doesn't do that to you, by all means, keep using them, right? But like I said, as I'm going to kind of demonstrate today, topical relevance on the source domain level is going to give you better results, and you can generally get it done for a hell of a lot less expensive than if you are paying for metrics that Google doesn't give a shit about UR and DR or DA and PA, or Majestic, which is the tool that I use for trust flow and citation flow. Trust flow is a measure of quality. Citation flow is a measure of quantity. Google doesn't give a damn about trust flow metrics either, by the way, guys, just so we're all clear about that. Google doesn't give a damn about Majestic metrics either. But Majestic is the only tool out there that has a measure of topical relevance. None of the other tools that I'm aware of have any sort of measure of topical relevance. And so that's called topical trust flow. It's a categorization of the topical relevance of external backlinks. And so that's the act, like trust flow metrics are just, like I said, a measure of quality. Citation flow is a measure of quantity, but topical trust flow is the topical relevance score of those links that have trust flow. You have to have trust flow value of at least 1 in order for it to have a topical trust flow score. And that's what I live in. I live in Majestic, in the topical trust flow world, so to speak. And that's where I base all of my link building activities on. Now, all of that to say, and then I'm going to grab the screen and we're going to get right into it. All of that to say, if I can also get high UR and DR, high PA and DA metrics, like we can with cloud pages, coming full circle back to why we're here today. YACSS is badass because cloud hosted pages automatically right out of the box have high traditional metrics, right? But they have 0 citation flow and 0 trust flow. But that's what we're here today to manipulate, because so what I'm saying is I generally don't care about those other third-party metrics because they have no topical relevance value to them. But if I can get links from sources with high metrics of those kind of, traditional third-party metrics and also topical relevance, then by all means, that's a perfect link. Like that's the type of link that I want to build. And here, enter YACSS and cloud pages. We can do that with cloud pages because again, they come right out of the box. The moment you publish them, they have those kind of high traditional metrics, URDR, DAPA, whatever, those kind of metrics right out of the gate. You publish it, boom, it's high. But there's no topical relevance. But that's what we're here to do today, is inject topical relevance into those pages. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. Okay. So James says, swear away, man. Yeah, I just, in my mastermind, I don't mind doing that, but generally on more of a webinar like this where, some people get offended. So I try not to do that. Although I might slip here and there, but anyways, man, there's a lot of you guys in here. All right, right on. I'm going to roll right into it, guys. Let's get into, I'm going to grab the screen and we're going to jump right into it. Sorry, one more time. Okay, you guys are seeing my screen, correct? Make sure everyone's seeing my screen before I move on. Yes, okay, thank you. Peter, thank you. All right, guys, I'm gonna drop this real quick in chat for you guys. This is just a diagram that I don't know where this came from, but it's been around for a long time. These are, I like to use this as just an example, like when I'm looking, when I'm teaching or when I'm on a call with a client about, for my semantic link service or whatever. I kind of like to use this as, this is all of Majestic's topical trust flow categories in this kind of like wheel diagram. Some of them get so small, it's hard to actually click on. I can zoom in on it, but then it kind of makes like where the mouse pointer is actually clicking weird. So I'm just going to show that I share this with you guys. Bookmark this URL if you guys are going to kind of adopt semantic link building method, which is what I'm teaching here, which is all about topical relevance. You may want to refer to this often. Okay, but like here's one that I do I'm going to talk about domain crawlers and all this other stuff, guys. I got a little presentation. And I'm actually going to go through a demo setup today of the process that I'm going to share with you. We're actually going to go through and build one out. Okay. So that I can show you what I'm doing in real time as well. Okay. But I have like 3 different domain. Well, I've got the same domain crawler, but I got 3 different accounts that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week crawling for expired domains. I've got one that strictly is set up to crawl for business, for domains that are in the business category, topical trust flow category, one that is in the health category, and one that's in the legal category. And so I've like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've got these 3 domain crawlers that are going out and finding domains that then go into a queue for spam checking, which again, we're going to go into all of that in just a minute. But like, here's business, right? This is the business category here. Okay. So business is the overall general or top level topical trust flow category. Then there's a bunch of subcategories that are more specific. Okay. So like financial services, arts and entertainment, marketing and advertising, consumer goods and services, construction and maintenance. That's a big one that I use a lot for, because I have a lot of contractor clients. So I use that a lot for contractors. So that's a good one. Another one is you'll see transportation and logistics. That's good for like moving companies. Here's another one. We're going to go a little bit further. You'll see another one that I use a lot is agriculture and forestry, which again, sometimes right there, it's very small. That's why I said sometimes it's a pain in the ass. But agriculture and forestry, you know, for my agency, I run tree care or tree service. I do SEO for tree service contractors. So business, agriculture, and forestry is another topic that I use a lot. I scrape a lot of domains in that topical trust flow category. Anyways, there's just a bunch of them here, guys. I'm not going to go through all of them. Another good one is for like tree service stuff is under home. There's home/home improvement. There's also home/gardening. Gardening is a little bit more appropriate for a tree service contractor than home improvement is. But as you can see, like there's all these top level categories, and then there's all these subcategories so that you can find the most appropriate topical trust flow category to use as a tier 1 link, which would be linking back to your money site. As somebody already asked, can we talk about tier 2 links and tier 3 links? Yeah, certainly. Just kind of the rule of thumb here is that whenever you're linking to the money site, you want to only build links from the most appropriate topical trust flow category. And sometimes there's more than one. Again, for tree service contractors, just as an example, the most appropriate ones are business, construction and maintenance, business, agriculture and forestry, and home/gardening. To a lesser degree, there's also science /agriculture. There's one in here for agriculture as well, right there, if you can see it. And to a lesser degree, but I would actually really rather use that at tier 2. So at tier 2, you can go a little bit broader. So for example, you can go with just the general business category at tier 2, if that makes sense. Although there are some subcategories in there that I would say are not going to be relevant at all, like food and related products would not be relevant to a tree service contractor, if that makes sense. So I would not want to but a general business, a domain with the topical trust flow category in just business without a specific subcategory would be relevant. Some of these other ones would still be relevant, like industrial goods and services is another one in here. That would be one that we could use. Real estate, business/real estate would be relevant to a tree service contractor, right? Whether it's commercial real estate or residential real estate. My point, guys, is you just got to start and use logic, use common sense to determine. And also you can always use Majestic to analyze top ranked competitors and see what is the most appropriate topical trust flow categories. And all I do is my link building service is local link building. And I can tell you that more often than not, probably 70, 80, it's like the 80-20 rule, really. Most of the time, the top ranked competitors are going to have their most prominent topical trust flow category of their external backlinks in the appropriate topical trust flow category, if that makes sense. If you guys start to use Majestic and you're analyzing organic ranking competitors, you're often going to see, and like I said, it's roughly the 80-20 rule, 80% of the results that are ranked in the #1 position are going to have their most prominent topical. What I mean by that, the heaviest weighted topical trust flow category is the one that's always at the top in Majestic. And we're going to go demonstrate this in a minute, is always going to be in the top, in the most appropriate topical trust flow category. So what does that tell you? That tells you what I just said is the truth, is that topical relevance matters, right? And so, like I said, if you can get topical relevant as well as those traditional kind of high metrics, which Cloud Pages can do, then you've got a really good link. Although, like I said, I can get good results from topically relevant links that have like no traditional metrics or very low traditional metrics, better, and it produces a better result than links from sources that have high traditional metrics but don't have the topical relevance, if that makes sense. So anyways, I just wanted to point this out, let you guys take a look at that. What we're going to do is go into the presentation. I don't know about that, James. I don't do much Twitter stuff. I know I should, but I just don't. I've never had any desire to do anything with Twitter. That's just personal preference. So I really don't do much with it. I know Jesper's stuff is badass when it comes to that, but I don't know. Okay, guys. So semantic links, topical trust flow manipulation for cloud stacks. Okay, we're just going to go through this briefly, guys, and then just so you guys get an understanding of, and I'll make sure these slides are available to you guys after the webinar today as part of the replay. Sorry, I'm just trying to move my face to make sure I can see everything. Stand by. All right. So why topical trust flow? Cloud pages have high authority metrics, traditional metrics, but no topical metrics, none whatsoever. There's zero. Okay. Links with topical relevance produce a better effect for all the reasons I just described. Majestic provides a topical relevance score known as topical trust flow, or TTF. Topical trust flow can be pushed into cloud pages very, very quickly. And this is the exact same method that I use for semanticlinks.io, which again is my white label link building service for local SEO agencies. The tools that we're going to be talking about today are these, guys. I can actually, well, anyway, let's see if I can copy the link address. I think I can. I'm going to put these in chat, guys, one at a time. Majestic. That is by far my favorite link analysis tool. PBN Lab. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I do in PBN Lab. I've got 3 PBN Lab subscriptions that I run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've scraped over 2.5 million domains now. No shit. In the last 6 months. So anyways, copy link address for Cloudboss. Cloudboss is Terry Kyle's cloud hosting platform. Jesper was talking about potentially integrating that with YACSS. I don't know if that's still on the to-do list or not. But you can still use YACSS with Cloudboss, even if it doesn't directly integrate. You just download the HTML files that YACSS produces and then upload them into the Cloudboss. And we're going to go through that process today anyways, just to show you how you upload via Cloudboss FTP to the various cloud hostings that connect to Cloudboss, which it's awesome. Terry Kyle, any of you guys have been around for a while, you know who Terry Kyle is, but he's also the guy that is behind WPX Hosting, which is my favorite host for WordPress hosting. But it's been around for a long time. Cloudboss has, but it connects with a bunch of cloud hosting platforms and cloud storage platforms, Amazon S3 and Rackspace being the 2 most kind of like integrated, but then it also connects with DigitalOcean, Vultr, Linode, and it's supposed to connect with Amazon Lightsail, but I've never been able to get that to work. So anyways, you can connect various types of VPSs and cloud storages to it. And it's a really, really good service for, you can do some hosting with CMSs like WordPress and stuff. I use it specifically just for HTML hosting. That's it. And I've got over 500 sites already hosted through Cloudboss right now. I'll show that to you guys when we get into there. And then lastly, I'm going to share with you guys Google Alerts. You're probably aware of Google Alerts, but there's a reason that I put that here. And that's specifically for providing you into your email inbox with crawl targets within that are topically relevant to what you need to find domains for. It's kind of like a little hack that I used or a little, kind of cheat that I've been using to help me identify crawl targets. Every week I get a new set of, it's not every week, but most weeks I'll get new crawl targets that I can plug into PBN Lab to scrape for domains that I need with the appropriate topical trust flow category, if that makes sense. So again, we'll cover that in a minute. The process. Number 1 is to crawl sites in the appropriate topical category. Number 2 is to find domains with high trust flow values in the exact topical trust flow category needed. Step 3 is to register the domain that passes the spam checks. We're going to walk through all of that, guys, on how to identify, like how to spam check very efficiently. You can get caught up spending way too much time spam checking. I'm going to show you the quickest and most efficient way to do that. Host domains with, so step 4 is to host domains with simple HTML page on cloud hosting with either a backlink, so content plus a backlink, or an embed. So these cloud hosted pages, you can actually literally just create a simple HTML file with an iframe, and that's it. And that can be your content. That's one of the reasons why I decided to omit content production from this training today, because we could have spent a lot of time on just content production alone. That's really kind of like could use its own webinar in itself. So I omitted that because one of the quickest ways that you can benefit from this method I'm going to teach you guys today is to just create an iframe, just an embed. So it's a simple HTML file with HTML header, an SEO title, an H1 tag, and then an iframe, and that's it. And you can literally power up your assets with just an iframe on a domain that's topically relevant that you purchased. So we can talk about that, or you can do a meta refresh which a meta refresh is like a redirect, but it's got a time delay. As long as the time delay is set to 0, it passes link equity. If it goes, if you set your time delay to 1 or anything above that, then it's like a 302 redirect, which does not pass link equity. So I'm going to share with you guys the index file that already has the meta refresh built into it. You guys, it's an index template that you guys are more than welcome to use. And I'm going to share with you guys a couple of other files as well throughout today. Okay. But here is basically a meta refresh code, guys. It goes in the HTML header section of a page. And right there, you would replace that token with the URL that you want it to redirect to. And this, by the way, in case you guys didn't know this, you could, if you have access, I'll give you a couple of examples. Tumblr, Blogger, Weebly, those are Web 2.0s with super high metrics, guys. You already know that, right? So Tumblr, Blogger, and Weebly are 3 that I know of that you can get access into the HTML header of those sites. You guys can use meta refreshes in the HTML headers of bloggers, Tumblrs, and Weeblies. In case you guys were unaware of that, you can do a lot of really ninja SEO things with meta refreshes by having a redirect from a Blogger blog or a Tumblr blog or a Weebly blog to your intended target, right? And then you do all your link building to the Blogger, Tumblr, or Weebly, but it passes through the meta refresh to your money site or your whatever your target URL is. As long as you can access the HTML header, which you can do in those 3 platforms, and then put this meta refresh code in there, you can do a lot of really ninja things with those Web 2.0s with the meta refresh. This is something we've been doing since, I want to say 2013 or yeah, probably 2013. I learned that originally from Jimmy Kelly way, way, way back with the first, I think, OMG live event back in Nashville, Tennessee, which I think was in 2013. I learned about that meta refresh hack all the way back then. We've been using that for years. So anyways, that's something that you guys can do in case you weren't aware of that. That's beyond the scope of today's training. But once you understand meta refreshes, as long as you know how to access the HTML headers of those templates within Blogger, Tumblr, or WordPress, or excuse me, Weebly, you can inject a meta refresh code into there. Okay. So with that said, let me get into the next part of this. So the last step would be to submit for indexing, both in, whatever indexers that are that you use, but also submitting to Majestic for indexing or for crawling. Okay. Majestic has its own link index. So you want to kind of help nudge it along by submitting the sites that you build to Majestic. But there's a trick for that, which you have to, especially if you're using Amazon S3 for hosting, for HTML page hosting. You have to submit the domain as a verified domain in order for Majestic to crawl it. And there's a little process that I've got outlined here in the presentation slides for you guys on exactly how to do that. Just so you know, Majestic will not crawl HTML sites hosted on Amazon S3 unless you submit them as a verified domain. That's the only way it will crawl them. Okay. And again, I'll show that to you guys when we get to that point. All right. Okay, so crawl targets, guys. What do I mean by crawl targets? This is how do you go out and find sites that you want to crawl for expired domains? And that's what PBN Lab does. Okay, PBN Lab is fucking amazing. This guy down in Australia, Scott Moran is his name. He runs PBN Lab. He's really nice guy. I've got 3 full-time accounts that are running at the EXA level, which is $300 a month per account. But that's because I got a whole business built around this method. So, I spend almost $1,000 a month on those 3 different crawlers, but they're 24 hours. I told you I've scraped over 2.5 million domains. It's insane, but that's, it's something that I need to always have, new domains available for my link building business. So, I would highly encourage you guys to check it out. If you are doing a lot of this stuff, you might need to go with the EXA account level. If you're not doing this, if this just like, if you don't do a lot of stuff for clients or you don't have a lot of volume, you might be able to get by with what they call, I think Terra, I think it is called, is the next level down. But there are some kind of, let me just copy that link real quick, guys. Sorry, back up. I want to show you what it looks like. Let me copy this link address. And we'll go visit the page real quick so I can show you what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to show you how to use it. And sometimes, I don't know if it's because sometimes it's slow to react to load pages. I don't know why that is the case, but it is what it is. Anyway, if you scroll down and you'll see, this is what I'm talking about. EXA is what I have, 3 of those, but you would need at least Terra. To be honest with you guys, if you're going to be doing this method, this is what you would need in order for it to be effective. But again, if you got client work and things like that, guys, what I'm going to share with you guys today is fucking gold. It really is. And so I would encourage you to, seriously consider what I'm going to share with you today as part of your link building strategy for clients and everything else. Okay. So, but again, it's a great service. I'm going to show you the inside the dashboard. I'm going to go through this process in just a moment. All right. So again, with crawl targets, the biggest part of this is finding targets. I know that's one of the, because I've taught this before in the Semantic Mastery Mastermind, and some of our members, they say that that's one of the things that they struggle with, and I do too, especially when you have to, like we build roughly, we have a demand right now for almost 250 domains per month. In order to fulfill for my link building clients, we need about 250 domains per month, new domains every month. And so I had to very quickly develop ways to keep the crawlers full of within the appropriate category, which is what I'm going to show you now. So here we are inside of PBN Lab. And this one is an account. I hope it kept me logged in. Good, it did. You know what? Maybe it didn't. Shit, I bet you it didn't. Oh, let's see. Try again. Just a minute, guys. And sometimes I said, I don't know why it's slow. Sometimes it's, okay, there we go. So this is one of my accounts. This one is, I don't know if this is my second oldest account or the third, but you can see this one alone's got 826,000 domains that it's scraped that are available for checking. And you can see, like, for example, this is my business. I told you I have 3 different PBN Lab subscriptions. One is for strictly in the business category, one is in the health category, and one's in the legal category, which in legal, that would be under society/law, right down here somewhere, right there, society/law. That's typically what we're looking for in the legal industry. But this is my business category crawler. And if we go take a look at all domains, and by the way, it's going to refresh, but look at this, like this one right here, this site that it was crawling, mcrsafety.com, it found 48,241 potential domains. Does that make sense? So that means on that one crawl alone, which was a reverse crawl, and you see how it's taking forever to load. And that's why, like I said, I'm going to talk through this until it loads. But that one site, mcrsafety.com, a reverse crawl is where it looks at the backlinks pointing to that site. And then it crawls those backlinks to the domains, the source domains, and then crawls the source domains. A single site crawl is where whatever domains you load in there into the system to crawl, it's going to crawl that site and that site alone, meaning it's going to crawl all the pages on the site and look for broken backlinks. And then it's going to, if it finds a broken backlink, then the system goes and checks to see if the reason that it's broken is because it can be registered. If it's expired and can be registered. And by the way, it's not perfect. Sometimes this will show you domains that should be available that are not. You can't register them because they're already registered. And I don't know why that is. Today, I found 2 in a row that were both like that. It's passed the spam checks, had good metrics, had everything that I wanted. And then I went to go purchase it, and they were registered in 2019 was one of them, and the other one was registered in 2021. And I was like, son of a bitch, I almost sent him a support ticket saying like, hey man, there's something wrong. But it was just those 2 for whatever reason. But what I'm saying is it checks for single site crawl, it crawls that domain and looks for broken backlinks. And then it analyzes. Now see how it just finally went through. Anyway, it will crawl those, look for broken backlinks. And if it can determine that the link is broken because the domain is expired, then it will put it into a queue for further checking, which is what I call spam checking, right? And that's where we're at right now. But reverse crawl is where it takes the domain submitted and it looks at the backlinks pointing to that domain, and then goes back to the source domain from that backlink, and then looks for broken backlinks on those source domains. And then whatever. So a reverse crawl takes considerably more time than a single site crawl, if that makes sense, especially if you're crawling big sites, because then, I mean, sometimes, and I've got mine set to time out after 72 hours, meaning if one crawl job has been going on for 72 hours, then it automatically stops at that point and it just processes whatever domains it has generated or identified at that point, so that that it can continue crawling on to the next target, if that makes sense. And there's guys, this is not a tutorial on specifically how to use PBN Lab. I could spend a lot of time on that. I'm just giving you kind of a high level overview. If you end up checking out PBN Lab, Scott's got tutorial videos and help files that will show you how to do everything and how to set up your settings. There's auto stop settings. You can add your Majestic API metrics or Majestic stuff in Moz. You can add your Moz API key even on the free account, and it will give you Moz metrics. I don't give a damn about Moz metrics, guys. I really don't. All I care about is Majestic metrics, which is why I have everything sorting by Majestic, as you can see here. I'll zoom in on this a little bit so you guys can see it better. All right. So right now what we're looking at is all the domains and all topical categories that are available. Well, supposedly, not all of them will be, but supposedly available for registration. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the filters to start filtering down domains, but I didn't show you guys how to find crawl targets yet. So I want to start there because that's where you need to start, right? My PBN Lab has already got, as you saw, over 800,000 domains available for me to check. But if you're starting new, you're not going to have any. So how would you do it? Well, we're going to use an example here today for a cloud page that I hosted here for one of my tree service projects. It's a lead gen project. I've shared this in various training capacities, so I don't mind sharing this now. This is for a lead gen site I have under my Tree Care HQ brand, which is the same as my directory, but I have a local Tree Care HQ, which is for some lead gen stuff. I've got 5 or 6 locations for that. And this is for Charlottesville, Virginia. As you can see, you all are familiar with this page, okay, with this template, which, by the way, like I said, you can build sites on what I call them semantic links rebuilds, but we're not really rebuilding the old content. I just call them rebuilds because they were domains that had been live at one time and already have a relevant backlink profile and hopefully relevant content. The previous content was relevant. But again, you can actually use YACSS to build these sites right here onto these domains that you can find. So you can start building your own kind of, they're not PBNs because they're not blogs, but you can build your own link networks based on HTML sites, which is what I do. I don't build PBNs. I build HTML sites that are with links that are specific to my clients' targets. Like whatever I'm linking to my clients, they're exclusively built for their purposes, if that makes sense. Okay. Peter says, so potential domains are all expired domains or just more target domains that can be crawled? No, well, potential domains are, when I'm talking about like these domains here are all supposedly, they're not all going to be, like I said, sometimes it'll say it's available, but it's not. You have to check it in Namecheap or whatever your domain registrar is. But these are all available for spam checking for me to, like, these are all have been crawled and they're supposed to be like we'll just look at this one for an example. What I'll do is I'll go to Majestic Domain and you'll see that this is society, gay, lesbian, and bisexual. So there you go. Some of you may be interested in that shit. There you go. Here's a domain you might want to purchase, right? It's got referring domains of 51. Very quickly, I guess, since we're here, let's just very quickly go through a process of what do I do to spam check this. In Majestic, I always start with looking at these domains, looking at their metrics, but I'm going to show you guys how to apply filters and everything. I'm actually getting a little bit too ahead, so we'll come back to this. But what I'm saying is there's some kind of tricks that I use to very quickly identify whether this has been spammed or not. Okay, but right there, that's this has been in my crawler for months. Because it's not really in a category that I would use. I don't have any clients that need this sort of a topical trust flow link yet. So I'm not saying I wouldn't, I'm just saying I don't have any that do. So, but if anybody like this, could be a pretty powerful domain. Anyway, I'll come back to that. But let's just go back over here for a second and we're just going to do a quick search. There's a number of things that you can do, guys. You can do a keyword search for keyword, just general keyword. So like I could say like tree care, right? Tree care might be a good one, right? And I could come over here and go through, I'm going to block that, but I could go through here and look at arborday.org, which I know that's a good, I've crawled that one. By the way, guys, if you're doing this regularly, there are some sites, big sites that you're going to want to crawl once a month. Why is that? Because every single month, every day domains expire. Does that make sense? So there are certain sites that are relevant to the topics, the categories that you need domains for. like, for example, just as an example, in the legal industry, because I got a lot of personal injury attorney clients, law.com or justia.com, like some of those are really, some of those sites are sites that I crawl once a month. I put them back into the PBN Lab and crawl, because every single month we get a whole, like, dozens, sometimes hundreds of new domains that are available every single month by recrawling those sites, because every day domains expire. Does that make sense? So there's certain sites that you're going to want to crawl over and over and over again, because every time you crawl them, there's going to return a new batch of domains, if that makes sense. So that's something else you guys want to keep in mind. But Arbor Day would be a good one, right? So I could actually crawl that. Would you crawl local sites along with topical sites? Yes, James, you can, but generally you're not going to get very good results with that. It's going to return very few. So I'm going to show you guys some hacks here on how to very quickly kind of pull everything out. Many of you guys are probably aware of and you know what? I'm going to have to do this in Firefox. Stand by 1 minute, only because I don't have that plugin. I'm in my Semantic Links workspace account right here. So I don't have all of my browser extensions in here that I would typically use in like my main Google profile, but I do have it in Firefox. So I'm going to open this up and we're going to go through this exercise one more time. I'm going to click on to google.com. One thing I want to do is I want to go down to settings, search settings, and I want to change my results per page to 50. I don't like to do 100 because usually beyond 50, they start to become less and less topically relevant. So I set mine to 50 and I'm going to click save. Okay. Then what I'm going to do, and this is the stupid CAPTCHA, stand by. Then what I'm going to do is there's a browser extension, which is in both Chrome as well as Firefox, called Link Gopher. Okay, guys, just install it. It's called Link Gopher. It's free. And what I'm going to do is come back here and do a quick search. I'm going to say tree care. Okay. Then from here, there's 50 results on this page. Okay. What I'm going to do is just click Link Gopher, extract all links, and I'm going to scroll down to the domain section here. And now this is all the domain URLs that are present on that those 50 results. So I'm going to copy those and I'm going to paste those into a notepad file, or you can do it in Excel or Sheets or whatever you want. Okay. I'll zoom in on this so you guys can see it. And then what I do is I go through and I look at and delete any of the links that are going to be, or the domains that are going to be non-relevant. So for example, any Google link on there is non-relevant. Angie, yeah, you can crawl directory sites, guys. They're typically not going to give you the best results, but you can crawl directory sites. I'm not going to crawl this one for right now. So I'm going to get rid of Angie. A lot of the times I will eliminate the directory sites. Although, like I said, if you're doing a lot of this, then it makes sense to crawl directory sites too. But if you are, you know, depending on what subscription level you have in PBN Lab, if you're trying to save some of your crawling, you might want to go really for narrowly specific sites that are all about the particular topic you need. If you crawl a directory site, what's going to happen? You're going to get domains back in every kind of business category you can imagine, which is why I generally will eliminate those, because I'm looking for link profiles that are in the appropriate topical category that I need them to be in, if that makes sense. So a lot of times I'll get rid of those more general business directories. So anyways, I'm not going to go through all 50 of these guys, obviously, and there's probably more than 50 domains in here, but I would just very quickly go through and delete the ones that are not going to be relevant. So nationwide.com, that sounds like that would be like Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side, right? I don't know if that's it or not, but I could go check that one URL just to see and get rid of it. Department of Forestry, I think, is that one for Virginia. Wikipedia.org, I'm going to get rid of that. There's some EDU sites here, which typically they've got, you know, PDFs about tree care or urban forestry, things like that. You'll see those. A lot of the times I won't crawl those. Don't get me wrong. There's still value in crawling some of those. But in this case, I'm going to eliminate that. We're going to get rid of maps, Google policies. Just go through here and you just clean out or eliminate the ones that aren't relevant. Does that make sense? And then whatever you're left with now, let's just stop right. We'll stop right here. And that's a Google business site. Look at that. Anyways, I'm going to copy those URLs. And then what we would do is go over to PBN Lab and we would go to single site crawl, bulk loader, paste those in, click load and validate URLs. and it says that there is a support.google.com domain in here that it rejected. And that's because in the settings, I have Google domains added as a to the the exclusion list, if that makes sense. So I'm going to click add job now, and it says 14 new single site crawls have been added. However, what I typically do in a situation like this is also then do reverse site crawl. Again, guys, you got to remember what your depending on your subscription level and things like that. If you do reverse site crawl, you're going to get generally broader results. So I'm going to show you guys some hacks on how to get even better results when using reverse site crawl, where we're going to have to analyze these with Majestic. But just to kind of give you an example, if I was going to, because remember the difference between single site crawl. Single site crawl means the domains that I just added, it's going to go crawl those domains, all of the pages and posts on those domains, and look for broken backlinks, and then determine if the link is broken because the domain can be registered, or the source domain of that broken backlink can be registered. And if it can be, then it puts it into this queue for further analysis. But reverse site crawl takes all of the backlinks. It looks at the backlinks pointing at the list of domains that I would add to the reverse site crawl, and it would look back to the source domains and then crawl those source domains and find broken backlinks. So oftentimes you will start to get a much broader list of domains, because it's not, when it goes back and crawls the source domain, it's going to find backlinks from other sources that aren't necessarily topically relevant to your intended target, right? Or what you started with is your topic that you were trying to find links from, okay? Or broken domains from. So I'm not going to plug that in right there, because again, this is too broad in that we didn't really analyze on reverse, and reverse site crawl takes a lot longer than single site crawl. So again, depending on what subscription level you have, and if you have like the Terra plan as opposed to the EXA plan, you only get one job at a time, one crawl job at a time. I've got the EXA plan, so it's always got two crawl jobs going simultaneously within each account, within each PBN Lab subscription. So I do a lot more reverse site crawling, because again, like I said, you just don't want to clog up on a reverse site crawl for days, because then you really limit the amount of domains that it will return, at least in the appropriate category, because it starts to return more generalized domains. Okay, all of that to say, guys, what I want to show you though is we're just going to use arborday.org as an example of how you can really narrow down to only start crawling referring domains or source domains that are already in the appropriate topical trust flow category that you need. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to copy that URL, which was the #1 organic rank position for tree care. Okay, so arborday.org. And now I'm going to jump into Majestic, and we're going to very quickly just analyze. And this is just analyzing this page, right? We're not looking at all the backlink. All we're looking at right here is the number of external backlinks pointing to this specific URL, not even just this page, but this specific URL, because there could be HTTP versions instead of HTTPS versions of this URL that would have its own set of backlinks. There could be this URL without www. So just to give you an example, if I get rid of the S there, and you'll see right now the number of referring domains is 232, pointing to that specific URL with the S. If I search it again without the S, you see that there are 38 referring domains pointing to that version of the URL without the S. Don't let any of that confuse you. All I'm saying is we just started in at the page level, but what I want to do now is go to the root level. Now this is, look at that. You see the difference, how that jumped to 18,250 referring domains. And take a look. That's very interesting that the majority of the topical trust flow for this domain is society/holidays. Why? I have no idea. I don't know where the connection is with society/ maybe Arbor Day. That's why. That does make sense now. Arbor Day is a holiday, I guess. So that I guess that makes sense. But home/gardening, that's more relevant. That's kind of what I want to look at, right? That's what I want. That's one of several categories that would be relevant for a tree service contractor or a tree service project. So that's where I would want to start. So what I do is once I look at the root domain, which opened up a hell of a lot more options for me, is then I'm going to go over to referring domains. This is ninja stuff here, guys. Pay attention. Okay. Now from here, I've got a couple different Majestic accounts. I've got one that is a higher paid subscription level that I use for client stuff. And then I've got this one that I don't keep any I don't keep my client projects in this one so that I can use it for training purposes, but this is only a light account, which is $49 a month. So it does restrict the amount of data that it returns, just so you guys know. You can get away with just a light account. I'm telling you this because it's $49 a month. The pro account is $99 a month. I use the pro account for client stuff, and my team uses that because we keep, have campaigns and everything else in there where we track stuff and all that. But I got a $49 light account so that I can use it for training purposes, and it won't reveal my clients' projects. Okay. And I can do most of what I need to do for finding crawl targets with the $49 light account. Okay. So I'm just letting you guys know, if you don't need all of the, I think Majestic's awesome. That's why I have two accounts, but I'm just letting you know, you can probably get away with most of what you need with just the $49 a month account. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to go over here to Arbor Day root domain, and this is showing, and it's only going to show 5,000 results because of my restricted data because of the light account, if that makes sense. But that's okay. There's plenty of data here for us to analyze. So what I want to show you now is it's only going to show me the top 5,000 referring domains. And there was what originally said there was 18,000. So I'm missing out on 13,000 domains that I could potentially crawl, which is maybe a reason why you'd want to have a higher level account. Okay. But that said, the next thing I want to do is I want to sort by topic. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go down here in business, construction, and maintenance. That's a relevant topic. So I'm going to select that. And now all of these domains here are in the business, construction, and maintenance topical trust flow category, meaning that the most prominent topical trust flow category for any one of these domains here is business, construction, and maintenance. That's what they call topical trust flow category 0. Category 1 is the second most prominent. Category 2 is the third most prominent topical trust flow category. So all of these domains right here have the topical trust flow category 0 in the appropriate category that I need. Does that make sense? So now I can click on export data, top referring domains, export as an Excel or CSV file. And I'm just going to download, I'm going to add that to my downloads folder. Okay. So I'm going to go into my downloads folder and just save that there. Now I'm going to open that up and we're going to take a look at this. And I'm going to show you what I do here. Okay. Now I'm going to click enable editing. Like I said, what's beautiful about this is all of the domains here. If we look at topical trust flow category 0, which is this right here, that's topic 0. So that's the most prominent category for these referring domains. Okay. A lot of them are going to have additional categories as well, but this is the most prominent. So I don't need to filter any of these. I understand every domain on this sheet has the top level topical trust flow category that I need. So here's the domains here. So what I like to do is click to highlight all data. I go to data, sort, and then what I want to do is sort by trust flow right here. And I want to sort largest to smallest. Okay, boom, there we go. And now I know this is probably small on your end, guys, so I will zoom in a little bit. But now what I want to do is very quickly, I'm going to scroll down, and anything less than trust flow 15, I eliminate. Okay, so we're going to go start right here. And we're going to just eliminate these. And like I said, if I was in my $99 a month account, I would have many more domains right here in that specific category. But because I'm using the light account, it's restricting my data. Okay. But that's okay, because I just identified 47 domains that are in the appropriate topical trust flow category. Now, generally, just so you know, I will scan through these and get rid of domains that aren't, like this is a Spanish domain on the .es. I'll get rid of those. I'll get rid of Russian domains, EU domains, things like that. So I will generally go through here and get, delete those. Also, a lot of the times, you guys know, if you're ever doing backlink analysis, you'll get a ton of those scraper sites that is just nothing but a link list, right? They're just pages and pages and pages of links. And those are junk sites. Get rid of those. Don't crawl those sites. Don't waste your crawl budget on those. Just get rid of them, eliminate those. So it'll be like SEO top directory and website top directory, like all those types of sites. If you can see those, just delete those, because otherwise you're just pissing time away and using crawl budget that you don't need. But right here, I could say, okay, right here, I've got 47. I'll just clear this one out because I see it. I'm not going to go through and analyze all these guys because it would take too long, but I'm just going to copy these right here. And now these become perfect targets for both single site crawl and reverse site crawl. Why? Because now, again, reverse site crawl, be careful doing that if you have a limited PBN Lab account, because like I said, you can spend a ton of crawl budget on collecting domains that are outside of the topical category that you need. When you do reverse site crawl, that's going to happen. So if you wanted to be very, very specific, you could just copy these URLs to clipboard and then go back to single site crawl, bulk loader, which I think you need to have either the Terra, at least the Terra plan, which is I think 157 a month or whatever, in order to have reverse site crawl. If you go with anything less than the Terra plan, I don't think it even gives you the option to do reverse or single site crawl, excuse me, single site crawl. I think reverse site crawl is present in all account levels, but single site crawl is only available in the top 2 account levels. But again, it makes sense to do that so that you stay within, like, you know, within, you can always do what I'm sharing with you here so that you're always coming back with sites or domains that are in the appropriate categories that you need. So anyways, I'll go ahead and click load and validate URL and click add job now. And I just added 46 more single site crawl jobs that are in the appropriate topical category. Does that make sense? So now let's go back, take a look at Majestic again. What I want to do is clear that filter, and we're going to go to the next category that's relevant. Okay, so we're going to go back to topic, and we're going to scroll down and go to home/gardening. Okay, same damn thing. We're going to export data, top referring domains, Excel. I'm going to save it to my downloads folder. I'm going to open it up. You guys get the point. We're going to go through this just one more time. And like I said, I'm going to click enable editing, highlight all, data, sort by trust flow, largest to smallest, click OK. I'm going to scroll down. Right there, it looks like the start of anything less than 15. I'm going to delete all those. And then boom, what I'm left with are these domains right here, all in the home/gardening category. I would, like I said, I would probably go through here, not probably, I would go through here like this one right here is in Chinese or Japanese or something. So I'm going to delete that one. I would get rid of any .rus. I would get rid of any like shitty scraper sites that are junk sites. I'd get rid of anything that I could very quickly determine is not relevant or is likely going to return domains that I don't want to analyze. Like, you know, you can't buy Canadian domains, for example. So any sort of .ca stuff, I usually just get rid of it. .com, .aus, I get rid of those, things like that. Okay. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and copy all of these, and I'm going to go back to PBN Lab, single site crawl jobs, paste them in, load and validate URLs, add job now. Boom, another 63 jobs have been added. You guys understand that? So again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. You guys get it. The next, I would do it one more, you know, I would do it again for each of the appropriate categories. Although look at this, home/gardening, it only showed me 93, but there's an additional 124 if I was using my pro account. But again, I'm not going to do that because then every time I go back to the dashboard, it's going to show client projects. So that's why I use this one for training purposes. So there's a lot that we're missing out potentially by using the cheaper version of this Majestic. But anyway, I'm going to clear that out, and we go back and look one more time for the next one, right? We'd keep doing that, by the way, until like business/real estate. Yeah, there's some relevance there. And also because this is my business PBN Lab account, I've got clients in the real estate industry. I'd want to go ahead and crawl those too. But again, I could go through here, business, agriculture, and forestry. That's super relevant to a tree service contractor. So export data. And once you get below 50, you can just copy them to clipboard and then just open up, you know, one of the Excel files you've already got open and just paste it in. And that saves you a little bit of time. So boom, right there. I would just do the exact same thing. Data, sort by trust flow. Right there, largest to smallest. Click OK. Then I would open this up a bit, get rid of anything below 15. And I just do that because I'm only looking for links that are going to have fairly good, like I don't build links to anything less than trust flow 10, just so you guys know, and never do I ever buy any domains for less than trust flow 10. So I would be left with these right here. Okay. And again, I did not go through here. Like there's a .ca right there. I'm going to get rid of that. Doesn't mean you can't crawl those sites and find .coms and like .us's and stuff. And, or you know what I mean? Like, but I just generally don't want to waste crawl budget on sites that are probably going to return a lot of domains that I can't purchase anyways. So I'd get rid of those, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and copy those, and we're going to consider this done, guys. We're going to keep on moving. Again, depending on what subscription level and the amount of demand that you have for domains, you may want to also do reverse crawls for these. I typically do because we need, like I said, right now, about 250 domains per month. We have a demand for that many right now. And it continues to go up. So I do reverse crawl every time I submit a batch to single site crawl, like I just did. I then also go to reverse site crawl and submit the same batch, just like that. Load and validate URLs, click add to job now or add job now, and boom. Now this is also in queue for reverse site crawl. Hopefully you guys get all that. All right. I'm going to have to move on because otherwise this webinar is going to go like for 4 hours and we're not going to do that. So analyze the root domain. Just to go back, guys, any of these that you find that are relevant using something like the domain gopher or link gopher, excuse me, then you can plug all of those in for single site crawls. But then when you, the other way to do it is to take the top ranked results for the topic that you're searching for. And that's why when somebody asked a question earlier about, should you also scrape or crawl local business sites? Local business sites in themselves, okay, here's where it gets interesting, right? If you can crawl, single site crawl local business sites and find broken links on those local business sites in the same city, even if it's not in the same topic. Okay, let me back up for a minute, guys. I talked about topical relevance being the most important thing for backlinks right now. Well, that's true, except for with local. There's two types of relevance. There's topical relevance and geographic relevance or location relevance. So you can get links, if you can get links from geographically or location relevant links from sites that are like within the same city. So other local businesses within the same city, even if it's not topically relevant, like the domain, the source domain isn't going to be topically relevant because it's in a different industry, for example. Like, for example, a tree service contractor that gets a link from a local pizza parlor because they had a tree in their parking lot that got struck by lightning or whatever, and they had to call a tree contractor out to trim the tree or remove it entirely or whatever the case may be. And then they post a thank you or a blog post or a message on their blog, their local pizza service site, their local pizza parlor site, thanking the Bradley's tree service. You know what I'm saying? That link is valuable for ranking in local search in maps, even though it's coming from a business, food and related products. Most likely would be most likely category for a pizza parlor, even though it's coming from a kind of non-related topical category, it's locally relevant. That helps to rank in maps, period. End of story. So topical relevance doesn't matter if you can get links from locally relevant sources. So again, like getting a link from an attorney site, which generally attorney sites are going to have high trust flow values, but in the society/law category, most likely. That's completely irrelevant to a tree contractor. But if it's a local attorney that is placing a link on their site to a local tree contractor in the same city, that link is valuable. Does that make sense? So it's easier for us to manipulate topical metrics than it is to get links from local sources, but local sources are good. So that's why I say if you were to crawl a keyword plus city and scrape the results and then plug them into single site crawl, you can sometimes find broken links on other sites that are in that same city, like other businesses sites that are in the same city, that then you could purchase the domain and set a redirect or publish an HTML page on that domain or whatever with a backlink pointing to your site in that same city. And even if it's not topically relevant, it will help to rank in maps. Okay. Hopefully you guys understand that. Okay. So, but what I'm saying is if like the top ranked, like Lawn Starter is a directory site, but it's relevant. And Davy is a big, I don't know if it's national, but it is it's at least on the East Coast. Davy is a tree company that I know is at least on the East Coast. They're a really big contractor on the East Coast. They do a lot of like commercial stuff and state contracts and highway contracts and utility contracts and things like that. They don't typically do a lot of like to consumer or individual property owners. They do, but not as much. Anyways, the reason I'm telling you that is because these types of sites are the types of sites that you want to go in and do what I just, that exercise we just went through with, because it provides so many referring domains in one fell swoop. That's why this is the most efficient way to do it. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. Again, I need so many damn domains on a monthly basis. We have to be efficient. And these are one of the ways that I figured out how to be efficient. So very quickly, we're going to go back. I know we need to move on, but I just wanted to kind of beat that, hit you guys over the head with that because it's very important. Crawl targets is for many, many weeks, few months. I struggled with keeping the crawlers full until I kind of developed these methods. So anyway, load in the PBN Lab. And then here's a tip, guys. I love this. Use Google Alerts to automatically find new crawl targets every week. So this is something that I just started doing, well, probably about 2 months ago now, but it's been great because now I just do this once a month, or excuse me, once a week. Once a week, I go through the process you just watched. And that's it. Once a week, I go through that process. I think on Tuesday, I get Google Alerts for chiropractors so that it helps me to find health-related domains to crawl. And then on Wednesday, I think it is, I get contractors and builders and things like that. And I'll just show you what I mean. I got Google Alerts open here somewhere. So in case you guys are unaware, you go to google.com/alerts, and I could put in here like, let's just put landscaping. Let's do that. Let's put landscaping in there. And I'm going to say, create alert. I want to show, I'll zoom in on this guy so you can see it. I'm going to say at most once a week. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because that was a little bit too much. Sources, I like to do blogs, or you can do automatic. You can leave it as automatic. I like to filter out news though, because a lot of times then you end up, and I get these because I have some Google Alerts set up that, show a lot of press release stuff. But if you just do like, you can set up two, like blogs and web, for example, so that way it eliminates news. I don't really care about video because we're not going to be crawling video. I mean, I guess you can, I just don't do that. So right now I've got it set to just return results from blogs and websites, okay, to eliminate news. And then what I would do is select United States, and then only the best results or all results. I stick it with only the best results because in the Google Alert email that you will receive, there's always the best results are displayed in the email. But then there's always a button at the bottom or a link at the bottom that says see more results. And if you click that, it'll open it up into Google Alerts, which will show you more results. So I usually just leave it as only the best results, and then you deliver it to whatever email address you want and click create alert. Okay. And so now we've got this. Okay. So when new ones are published, it will show. So let's go in and create another one. Let's just do like, I'm going to say home builder. Okay. Just as an example, by the way, put them in quotes if you're, if you are finding problems with, because it's basically when you put in a search query, without it being in phrase match quotes, then it's broad match. In other words, as long as it had home and builder somewhere in the content, it would show the results, which means a lot of the times it's going to return stuff that's not very relevant. So if you want it to be relevant, use phrase match, which is putting in quotes. Okay. Does that make sense? And now look at this. This is showing here that like probuilder.com. This is what I mean, guys. This is why I love having these Google Alerts set up, because once a week I get an email with the top results over the last week of anything that was indexed in Google that had home builder in the title or in the content. And so very quickly, look at this. I can open that up and boom, what did I just find? I just found a site called probuilder.com. So if I copy that URL and go over to Majestic, I'm going to go to summary. I'm going to paste this in. I'm going to hit search. And now I'm going to go to the root domain as I just showed you. And look at that. 88.74% of the inbound link profile of 4,000 referring domains is in the business, construction, and maintenance topical category, with the second most prominent category being business/real estate, which is still relevant for most of my projects, contractor projects, tree stuff, HVAC, plumbing, all that stuff. Real estate is relevant to all of those. So I'd go through that same process. Boom, I'd go to referring domains. Then I would sort by topic, business, construction, and maintenance, 372 domains, export data, boom, CSV file, eliminate anything below TrustFlow 15, get rid of the domains that I don't want to crawl, like .cas, .eus, .rus, that kind of stuff. And now, boom, I've got 300 some odd backlinks or referring domains that I can crawl now in business, construction, and maintenance category. Does that make sense? So again, go back over to Google Alerts, scroll down through here, see what else we can find. CIPS, I don't know what that is, but let's open it up and take a look. See if I can find any others here. CIPS is, I still don't know what it is, but supply management, I don't know. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but I could just take that URL, copy it, go take a look real quick and see. Is it relevant? Go to summary. Look at that. Business, industrial goods and services. Hey, relevant enough. And remember, we're just looking at the backlinks, 578 referring domains to that URL. Let's switch to root, see what happens. 6,500 domains now. Go to referring domains. Try that again. I'm going to sort by topic. And we're going to go to business, transportation and logistics, business, real estate, business, industrial goods and services. I'd open that up and take a look at that. And look, here we go. There's 47 domains I can crawl. So just so you guys know, that's a little hack that I like to use. So once a week, all I do is open up my email that automatically sends me with the top results. And I just start clicking through the results that look like they're relevant. And now in this one, I left with the news on. But if we were to say, get rid of that and say blogs and web, oops, get rid of that and that, then it's going to show, excuse me, Twitter. I wouldn't want Twitter either. So I get rid of that. But just so you guys know, play around with the settings, but it's really cool because once a week you'll get an email, and you can do it more than that. I just only do it once a week because as you guys saw, I can very quickly, build a list to submit to PBN Lab for single site crawling and also reverse site crawls. And within just about 20 minutes, I can literally load the crawler up with hundreds of crawl jobs that are all in the appropriate categories that I need. Does that make sense? And so again, if I go back to dashboard, and PBN Lab, sometimes it's just really slow to switch between functions. And I don't know why, but you can see there's 595 jobs queued up. Does that make sense? 2 are currently running because of the subscription level I have. And like I said, I've found 826,000 domains in this account alone. I mean, look at this, guys. This one right here has already returned 2,874 domains that are available for registration, supposedly. Not all of them will be. There's 551,000 domains that are still in queue to be analyzed to determine whether they can be registered or not out of 673,000 domains. This one site that it's crawling, and it's only 35% complete, found 673,852 broken backlinks, if that makes sense. So that's why I said some of these are just insane. Like this one found 48,000, almost 49,000 domains to add to my list here. Was added to these right here, right? So you can see how powerful this is, guys. And I love this tool. So we're going to move on. Okay. I think crawl targets is one of the most important things. That's why I wanted to spend so much time on them. Okay. Because trust me, if you're doing a lot of this, you have to become efficient at it or else you piss a ton of time away. So spam checking next. We're going to configure cloud. I'm not going to go through this because again, there's help files, but you want to configure, and I meant to say configure PBN Lab. So forgive me, that's a typo. I'll have to fix that when I send out the replay, but that should say configure PBN Lab settings to use Majestic Trust Flow as the primary sorting option. Then use the filters to isolate domains with the exact topical trust flow needed. I'm going to demonstrate this for you guys today. Spam check the domains in Majestic to start with, and then you spam check the domains in Cloudboss. Okay, so we're going to go through that process right now. Like I said, we're going to go through an actual process where I'm going to purchase a domain, host it and everything while we're on this webinar today, guys. I don't want this webinar to go super long, but it looks like it's going to. Hope you guys are okay with that. All right, while I'm waiting for this to, I guess let's go on to the next slide while I'm waiting for that to pick up. And that way we can kind of read ahead a little bit. So after we spam check the domains in Majestic, which I'm going to show you guys how to do very, very quick way to determine if it's been spammed in Majestic. And then if it's spammed in Majestic, we delete it. We eliminate it. We just don't proceed any further. If it looks clean in Majestic, then the next thing to do is go spam check it in PBN Lab, or excuse me, Cloudboss, which you can do with the archive.org, the Wayback Machine at archive.org. But it's much faster to do in Cloudboss, and Cloudboss has that kind of functionality built into it. I'll show you guys when I can. But we want to look at the most recent archives first and determine what the former content was. And we want to look for signs of spam. Was it used for non-relevant topics? If it was, I immediately eliminate it. I delete it. Okay. It's not something I want to spend any more time on. If it was used as a PBN, or if it was used for unrelated content within the past, 5 years or so, then I just delete it. There's plenty of other domains out there that I can find that I don't need to try to force using a domain that has been spammed. Okay. You guys may want to test with that, but I personally, and by the way, just for, for some of my own projects and things, I will lower my standards a little bit, but for any of my client projects, they need a minimum of 5 referring domains, and they also have to be like pristinely clean, or else I won't use them. For some of my own projects, like I said, I will lower my standards a little bit. Sometimes I'll go below 5 referring domains. Sometimes there may be a little, hint of some spam 3 or 4 years ago, but for the last couple of years or 2 to 3 years, it's been relevant. So I may pick those up still for my own projects. So again, for you guys, if you're just doing this for your own projects, you could probably get away with some of the, don't have to be quite as strict. But if you're going to be doing this for client stuff, like what I do for my semantic links business, I make sure that they're, they have real high standards so that we don't, potentially cause any problems. Okay. So it looks like it finally cleared. So we're going to go over there and take a look. So there's all different kinds of filters, guys. You can set your own primary top level domains. I don't think it's going to show my list here. No, but these are all the, so anyways, I'm not going to go through all that again. Just go through PBNLab settings. What I want to show you here is expand filter settings. As I just told you guys, I don't ever build anything less than TrustFlow 10, or I don't ever buy any domains less than TrustFlow 10. And for all clients, I have a referring domain set to greater than 5, like 5 or greater, meaning they have to have a minimum of 5 referring domains, or I won't even analyze them. However, as I just said, for some of my own projects, I will kind of lower my standards a little bit. So that's what we're going to do here is I'm going to change the referring domains to any, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put in the top level category, or the most appropriate topical trust flow category that I want to find specific domains in. Okay. Because remember, there's 840,000 domains available in my database here for me to analyze. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with business / and I'm going to say just construction. You don't have to type everything out. You can also pull a lot of these from here, but sometimes it doesn't have, like right there, business, construction, and maintenance, but sometimes it doesn't have all of them listed in here. So I typically just type it in, and then I'm going to click apply filter. Okay. All right. So this, I've already picked that one up. So that one I know is already purchased, and that only has 1 referring domain. I typically don't recommend that, but I did that for testing purposes. So anyways, but you can see, like I said, very quickly, there's a bunch in here that have only 1 referring domain. I generally don't recommend doing that. But what I will do is start looking at these and opening them. You click the plus button and it shows you the top level. Well, it shows you the Majestic trust flow topics. And sometimes there will be more. So for example, like we'll just keep going through here. Sometimes you'll find some in here that will have multiple categories, like this one. This one has regional North America as the most prominent topical trust flow category. Then in second place is business, construction, and maintenance. Okay. And that's the National Committee of Home Builders Association or whatever. That's NCBA or whatever. So that's actually one of those big sites that I crawled to find that. But anyway, you can see most of these. So like I said, guys, sometimes you'll find stuff in here that is like mbtshoes-shop.us. I can tell you right now from the domain name that that's not relevant. I don't care if, well, first of all, the first category is art/music. I wouldn't pick this up. I would only pick up domains that have that, the topical trust flow category as the most prominent category. Does that make sense? Or it could have another category above it, but it would have to be relevant, like home/gardening or business, agriculture, and forestry, or science/agriculture. But generally, I would still use something like that at tier 2 as opposed to tier 1. Remember, we're talking about building links now to a cloud page. So unless the cloud page is your tier 0 asset, your money site, which generally it's not going to be, then you can be a little bit broader. Does that make sense? But there's no need to be if you can find the exact topical trust flow category that you need. So let's just go through this. But what I started to say, that's like Denny's short photography.com. From the domain name itself, I can tell you, even though the topical trust flow categories may be relevant or have some relevant topical trust flow category from its external backlink profile pointing to this domain, I can tell you right now that's not going to be relevant category, right? Because I'm just from the domain itself. So sometimes you can very quick, like Architects Israel, okay, that could very well be relevant. But you can oftentimes tell and eliminate wasting time analyzing domains that aren't going to have relevance, even if they're topical trust flow category. Remember, this is not a perfect tool, and I don't mean PBN Lab, although that's true too. I mean Majestic. Majestic is not a perfect tool. Okay, so sometimes it will give you backlink profiles. Like sometimes it'll be an attorney site that has like business, construction, and maintenance as the topical trust flow category, when it should be society/law, right? So that's why I said, you can't just go by the inbound topical link category. You have to also go analyze it a step further. But let's just go with this one. Aries, India, it's got referring domains of 8, trust flow 31. And if any of you guys go and register these while I'm trying to do this, you're going to ruin my ability to be efficient with this process today. I've done in the mastermind before, I was sharing this process and somebody purchased the domain right out from underneath me as I was analyzing it. And pissed me off like you couldn't believe, because I was like, here I am sharing information. And as I'm sharing the method, you guys are buying the domains that I'm hunting down right out from underneath me. Like, you sons of bitches. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, so guys, in order for me to be able to demonstrate how to go through this process and buy the domain, host it, all of that, just bear with me. You can always go through and purchase any of these other domains at a later time, but let me try to find one so that I can do this today. So very quickly, I'm looking at the root domain, proper category, 30 referring domains. This looks like it could be a good one. So how do I check for spam? Well, in Majestic, very quickly, I go to anchor text and I look, do I have unrelated anchor texts? It looks like this one has been spammed. Does that make sense? Because look at there's a lot of stuff on here, a lot of anchor texts. All I got to do is look at the word cloud, and I can very quickly determine that this is probably a spammed domain, or a domain that's not going to be relevant to the project that I need it for. In this case, a tree service site that I want to push topical relevance to. Does that make sense? I can look at that very quickly and determine it's probably been spammed. Okay. So I'm probably not going to want to pick this one up. But the next step, besides looking at the word cloud, the anchor text word cloud, and looking for unrelated anchor texts, non-relevant anchor texts, is then I would go to the pages tab. And here's where you determine what version of the URL is the strongest version of the homepage URL is the strongest version. In this case, it's HTTP with www. Sometimes it'll have HTTPS. Sometimes it won't have www. A lot of the times it's going to be HTTP or HTTP with www. I don't know why, but oftentimes that is going to be the most strongest version of the URL. But you can see that that has a trust flow value of 31. So I would hover over that little gear icon and click on Site Explorer. And boom, right there is now the true metrics that I would get from rebuilding or doing a meta refresh or an embed to a cloud page. I could push 31 topical trust flow to the page from this version of the URL. So that's what I would build on. Does that make sense? Now, as I said, this one's probably been spammed, and I'm going to show you the next step of spam checking. So let's just say that the word cloud didn't provide some indication that that was spammed. What would the next step be? The next step would be to log into Cloudboss. This is the dashboard of Cloudboss. As I told you, I've got over 500 sites hosted already in Cloudboss and adding more on a daily basis. But this is a great tool. It's only $50 to host 100 racks. You get 100 rack space slots for $50 a month, guys. It's incredibly inexpensive. And then Amazon S3, you integrate your access keys from Amazon S3 from AWS accounts. You can have multiple AWS accounts. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there's supposed to be a 100 bucket limit within Amazon AWS. Did you know that you can contact Amazon support and have that and ask for more capacity and provide a good reason, and they'll open it up? I've got at least 5 different Amazon S3 accounts right now that I have 500 buckets in each account. Okay. So that's essentially what, that's how you can continually add more and more capacity to Cloudboss without costing any more money. $50 a month, you get the bottom level account, you get 100 rack space accounts or slots that you can host HTML sites on. And then you can add your S3 accounts, and all you pay for in S3 is bandwidth usage. Does that make sense? So if you have an S3 account and you contact S3 support and you ask them, or Amazon support, you ask them to increase your bucket limit from 100 to 500. Now you've got 500 S3 buckets that you can use to host Amazon HTML accounts on sites on S3 buckets. Anyway, so I'm going to go over here to domain tools, and I'm going to go to Rebuilder. And all this is an embedded Wayback Machine, guys. That's all this is the Wayback Machine embedded. But why is this faster? You'll see. So let's just go through here, and I'm going to copy just the domain. And I'm going to go into here and paste this in and click Submit. And what we're going to do is, what this does is this pulls in all of the snapshots that are available for this domain. Does that make sense? So I can very quickly, I always start at the most recent. This one's been spammed, I bet. But anyways, and you find a lot of spam domains, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to start with the most recent and I'm going to click preview archive. Okay. So that's a blank snapshot. It's not going to give me any data there. So generally when I see that, then I'm going to jump back to the next year. Okay. Instead of looking at all three of these records, and probably all three of these are going to be returned the same sort of like blank window, is I'm going to jump back to the first 2019 record, or the last 2019 record, since we're going from newest to oldest. And sometimes it takes a while. That's because archive.org, nobody actually donates to archive.org. If you've ever been there and it has the donate banner at the top, have you ever donated? I haven't. And their servers are way overloaded. Probably we all should, and then they'd be faster. But we're all cheap because we're all SEOs and we won't do it. So oftentimes I will be doing other tasks while I'm waiting for this to load, like looking for other domains. So while I'm waiting for that to load, because sometimes it'll take a while, I'll scroll through here and say, okay, let me look at another one. Common Ground Capital LLC. Well, that's only got one referring domain. So I'm going to skip that one. I don't know what the hell that says, but we're going to look at that one because it's got 9. So I'm going to click Majestic Domain, take a look at this very quickly, go to anchor text. I'm going to look and see, well, there's some foreign language stuff in here. So it's probably been spammed. I probably would just go ahead and cancel that one out. And so one of you guys might want to check that a little bit further, but I'm going to delete that from the database right there so that I don't spend any time. Oops, and looks like I deleted the wrong one, but that other one only had one referring domain anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. That's the one we just looked at. So it takes it out of queue. And we're going to go look at this one, Architects Israel. I'm going to go to anchor text, or is that the one that I already? No, that's the other one. Okay, so this one, look at that. Other than it's got some Hebrew, which doesn't mean it's irrelevant. It's just foreign language, but that's because it's Architects Israel. It makes sense. This doesn't look like it's got any spam. Anchor text, right? So I'm going to go to pages and I'm going to look at this trust flow 30, referring domain 7, HTTP without www. So I'm going to go to Site Explorer. I'm going to look at this. That looks like a good domain. So I'd want to go spam check it. So, okay, take a look at this. Aries, India. Doesn't this look like it was used as a PBN, guys? Look at all the different categories. So this is a partial snapshot because a lot of times Wayback Machine will have broken like CSS and things like that. And that's why it looks like this, but wasn't this used as a PBN? You guys see that? So I know right now, right off the bat, and I told you this was likely spammed. I could tell from the anchor text, cloud, the word cloud and the anchor text and Majestic, right? I told you this was likely spammed. Sure enough, it was spam. This was used as a PBN and it's clearly identifiable right there. So I'm going to go back over here. And what was that domain? Aries, India. I'm going to delete that from here because I know that that one's been spammed. So that's not a candidate. Okay, so we're going to go back and we can close out some of these. Go back over here, and Architects Israel seems like, at least on the first view from these preliminary checks, it looks clean. So we're going to go check it here. Click submit. We're going to scroll down. And by the way, generally, if you see records that are fairly new, like this one, there was an archive.org record from March 31st, 2022. My guess is this has been spammed too. I'm not always right, but after doing enough of this for months now, you can generally identify just by looking at the dates on records, whether it's been spammed or not. But so far, that's a blank record. So I'm going to go back to 2021. The most recent record in 2021, it's a blank. And you get this a lot, guys. So I'm going to go back to 2020. What I'm looking for is, and by the way, okay, that's been spammed. I'm deleting that. I won't use domains that look like this. It perhaps if that was like 7 or 8 years old, like this kind of stuff was 7 or 8 years old, and then since that time, it had been used for relevant content, then I may still allow that to pass. But in this case, the most recent record that we can see was used for, is that Korean? I don't know. Anyways, it's some sort of Asian language. We see this a lot when you're scraping domains. I don't know what it is about the Asian countries that for some reason they spam the hell out of our domains. I don't understand it. I don't get it, but it happens a lot. So I would eliminate that one. So you guys understand, like, you know, like this is where a lot of time is spent. So that's why I trained a VA how to do all this. And I would encourage you guys to do the same. If you're going to do a lot of this, is hire a VA and teach them how to do these spam checks. And he just has a sheet that it's a Google sheet that he puts all the domains in that have passed spam checks. He puts the trust flow value, the referring domain number, and then what the former content was. And then once a week, I'll go in, I'll copy all of the domains out of the sheet that he puts them in that have passed spam checks, and I plug them into Namecheap, the beast mode, right? And it pulls up all the domains all at once, and I click register all, and it puts them all in the cart. And then I hit checkout, and I always have my account funded with, $500 to $1,000, and I'll buy, 30, 40, 50, 60 domains at a time once a week, if that makes sense. It's the quickest way to do it. But so anyways, we're going to find one, guys, even if it takes a couple of minutes. I hope you guys are okay with that. Let's just look through a couple more here and find one. PM Construction. That looks good. It's got 6 referring domains, 29 trust flow value, Majestic domain. Peter says, can cloud sites withstand more spam, kind of like a Google site? Maybe, Peter, but I don't recommend it, because remember, you're building a domain, so it's acting, even if it's hosted on a cloud host, it's still a self-hosted domain. Does that make sense? So like a cloud page on a cloud storage domain, like, Amazon S3 or Wasabi or Microsoft Azure, any of those, you can spam those heavily because it's on the Microsoft domain or the Google Cloud Storage domain. Or does that make sense? But if you're putting it on a self-host, if you're just uploading an HTML file that even YACSS builds as the site onto a self-hosted domain, then that, again, that plays by a different set of rules. So I don't recommend it. Okay. Anyways, PM Construction, anchor text. I should have probably had a domain ready for the purchase, guys, but I did want to go through the process. This looks rehab construction, all that. So they're probably a remodeling company or a contractor that worked with house flippers or something like that. We're going to go to pages. So far, it looks good. So we're going to go with PM Construction, no HTTPS, and with www. So I'm going to go to Site Explorer, and boom, that looks pretty clean, at least from there. Hopefully we're going to find one, guys, because I really don't want to spend much more time on this than I already did. I think you guys understand what we're looking for spam. 22. Shit, March 2nd. My guess is it's probably been spammed. Well, that's not necessarily always true, because it could be that it was a live site. Look at that. That was relevant. You guys see that? That was a construction and building site. Now, it might have been used as a PBN, but it was relevant. Building and construction tips leads me to believe that it was probably being used for link building purposes, but it's relevant content. So does that make this a bad domain? No, not at all. So I'm going to go back another year, take a look, or to the most recent, the previous year. That it's not a year between those two records, but the next previous year is what I mean. The most recent record in the previous year. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to 2019. Take a look at that. I just want to see what the content was before what looks like a blog being used for link building purposes, which I'm okay. Boom. See, look at that. So it was most likely, see, I don't like this. Somebody else was okay with using that for a link building purposes for construction stuff. But I wouldn't, and again, we talked about this in our mastermind was, people say, well, what if the content was in a foreign language, but it was relevant? There's something to be said for that. Like if I were to copy these and then copy some of this text and then plug it into Google Translate and it came back and it was relevant to its intended topic, what I need it for, then yeah, maybe I could still use those. I typically don't, because I don't go through that extra step. But if it was relevant, perhaps we could, right? So anyway, we're going to keep trying. I really do want to find one that works here for us, guys. I've already picked that one up, I know for sure. 52 builder tips. I don't know. It's only got one referring domain though, so I don't really want that one. Let's go with this one. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, guys, but I really do want to find one that's relevant and valid to purchase. I'm going to go to anchor text. That looks okay. Go to pages. Site Explorer. Copy the domain. Spam check it. Whoops, shit. I should have had a domain ready. In fact, if I can't find one right now, then I'm just going to go into my database of already purchased domains. I do keep an inventory of domains that have already been spam checked, and I might just pause the screen, jump into my database and pick one and use that. That way we can move on. Because I don't want to spend a lot of time spam checking. You guys understand the whole process here. So I think that's all that's needed. That was used in Russian. See that? That's Russian. So I wouldn't use this one either. And it was spammed. You can tell right there from all the different topics. So that was spammed. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause the screen for a minute, guys. I'm going to go into my database and pull out a domain that's in the business, construction and maintenance, agriculture and forestry, or the home/gardening category. One that's already been spam checked. So stand by. And we're going to go with right here. I just found one. And this one's already been purchased. So let me just see which registrar it's in. My SL manager registrar. So I'll have to jump in the name sheet for that one. But anyway, I'm going to close this down and show you guys. This is the one that I just pulled out of my database right here. So this one's already been purchased. You guys can't buy this one out from underneath me. So, okay. So whichever one of you did that to me in the mastermind, you can piss off. Anyway, I'm just joking. Anyways, so this one's 21, trust flow 21, topical trust flow in business, agriculture, and forestry. Okay, you see that? This one's already been purchased, and that is in a different Namecheap account. Stand by for 1 minute. Can I know why, Amra says, can I know why Russian is a red herring? I have no attachment, but could a site with Russian language still not be relevant? Yeah, that's what I just mentioned a second ago, Amr. If you take some of the content and plug it into like Google Translate and it comes out that it was relevant, there's no reason you couldn't use it. I just generally don't go through that extra step. I'll usually eliminate them, but absolutely, if the content was relevant, there's no reason you can't do it. I just generally don't do that, if that makes sense. Okay. So anyways, I'm going to open up. Yes, I still use Browsio. I know you guys are probably like, what the hell is Browsio? Well, some of you know what I'm talking about. And I still use Browsio. So I just logged into, give me 1 second. I'm gonna log into this Namecheap account, which I set up for my, oh no, wait a minute, I gotta go here. Okay. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go into manage here. So let's just, we just going to pretend that we went through this process. By the way, I meant to I gotta sign that. Hold on a minute, just because otherwise one of my team members will try to assign that domain and it's now going to be used for this. So I got to go back into the database for a second. Give me 1 second. Mark that as used. I know you guys aren't seeing my screen. Just give me a minute. Okay, done. All right, so resume share. All right, here we go. So what I just did, let's pretend like we went through the whole spam checking thing. We found one. Boom, it's clean. That's what we're looking at here. Just to confirm that, like I said, this is showing if we were to go through that same process, go to root domain, I'd go to anchor text. I'd look to see, is there anything on here that's non-relevant? No, that's okay. Everything looks good. So then I would go to pages. I determine the most appropriate version of the URL, which in this case is HTTP without www. I usually just open that up there so that I can get the final metrics that I'm going to be pushing. I put that into the database saying that, this domain with this specific URL is the homepage URL. Trust flow value is 21. I put the topical trust flow category 0 in the database, as well as the number of referring domains. Okay, does that make sense? And then it goes, so now because like, again, I just kind of have like this app that it's called Fusio that I use as a database app, a no program database. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so after all that, then I would go spam check it. I'm not going to go through that process here, but I would look here to make sure that it's been clean, it's relevant, all of that. This one looks like it was probably used for a real estate company. That's okay. It's got the appropriate topical relevance that I need here, topical trust flow, and I'm going to go ahead and use this one. So I've logged in the Namecheap. I've just found that domain out of my domain list. I'm clicking here, and what I'm going to do is now go into Cloudboss, and we're going to assign this domain. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that to clipboard. I'm going to jump into Cloudboss and show you guys how I do this. We're going to go to Add New VPS. Try it again. I'm going to click. I'm just going to use Rackspace. I'm going to click on include it. I've got the next level up because I maxed out 100 sites in Rackspace already. So I went up to the next level. So I've got 200 Rackspace accounts or slots now. I'm just going to put this in here real quick, Bradley at semanticlinks.io. I'm going to put the full, excuse me, we need to put the full URL in there. The way that we're going to add it like this. So I'm going to paste that in just like that. And then I'm going to click data center location, and I'll go with, you know what, I'll do Sydney, Australia, just because I know the last 3 that I did for training last week were the first 3, Northern Virginia, Chicago, Dallas. By the way, if I were to show you guys, anyways, I'm not going to show you, but Amazon S3, if I was to change this from Rackspace to Amazon S3, you see that Amazon S3 has 23 data centers. So that's 23 different IPs. Then if you marry that with Cloudflare, which again, this is beyond the scope of today's training, we can all, I talk about this stuff in the mastermind, guys. If you want like full on training on and all these other kind of hacks and stuff that I've learned over the past 6 months that I've been doing this, you have to join the mastermind. Sorry, this is specifically about one thing, but I just wanted to state that like you can see in Rackspace, you only have 5 data centers, right? Well, there's 6, one's in the UK, but you have to have a separate account for that. And I've already contacted support and I don't know how to get that account. So you only have 5 data centers, and you can't use Cloudflare with Rackspace because Rackspace uses Akamai or something like that, which is similar to Cloudflare. And you can't use both or else it just won't work. Trust me, I had to hire a freaking network administrator to figure that out. But Amazon S3 has 23 data centers. And you can use Cloudflare with Amazon S3. And each time you create a new Cloudflare account with a new email address, you're going to get a new set of name servers, which gives you a different IP block or a different IP range. And so essentially, like for the Northern Virginia data center in Amazon S3, for example, you get 1 IP. But if you have 10 different Cloudflare accounts, now you can get 11 IPs from that one data center. That one Northern Virginia data center. Does that make sense? So you can very quickly significantly increase the number of IPs that you have. And also remember, Cloudflare, their IP ranges that you have millions of other sites hosted on those IP ranges. So you're hiding in the middle of a crowd, which is a good thing, right? So again, like there's lots of ways to increase the capacity of so that you don't have footprints using this service. Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and click submit. It just takes a couple of seconds. Boom, it's done. So now I'm going to click close. What I'm going to do now is go into my FTP right here and go to Rackspace. And now at the very top is that domain that I just added. So I'm going to click log in. Boom. Now we are in this domain, guys, in FTP. So I can upload directly to that Rackspace account for this right here. All right. So I know we're going way, way over on time, but I always do. So forgive me for that. But I want to move on to the next slide and show you what we're going to do. So we're going to add the domain to cloud hosting, which we just did. Add the domain to Cloudboss using Rackspace or Amazon S3. If HTTPS is needed, you have to use Amazon S3 plus Cloudflare, because then you can use flexible SSL. That's beyond today's training, guys. But if the most appropriate version of the domain or the homepage URL had HTTPS, then you're going to want to use Amazon S3 and then use Cloudflare so that you can turn on flexible SSL. That's the only way that you can get SSL to work with Amazon S3. There's another way you can do it where you go through CloudFront and use Amazon Route 53 as the DNS, but that's a whole bunch of work that is unnecessary when you can very quickly do it with flexible SSL inside of Cloudflare. Again, that's beyond today's training. Then you want to go update the DNS, which did I close that damn site down? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Now you want to go update the DNS based upon, and now I'm in the FTP and I did that a little bit prematurely. So let me actually go back and go to Rackspace inventory. And now I'm going to search for that site that I just plugged into there. And you see how it popped up. This is what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. This is the public DNS record right here. Okay. So I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. Now all I'm going to do is jump into Namecheap and I'm going to go to advanced DNS. We're going to leave the name servers to basic DNS cloud or Namecheap's cloud, Namecheap's name servers. But we click into advanced DNS. And then we're going to eliminate, well, I'll just show you a little hack, is just to go in and we're going to add two CNAME records, one for the root, so the @ symbol, and then one for www. Okay. But there's always, with the parking page stuff, there's in Namecheap, there's always going to be these 2 records in advanced DNS. All you got to do is edit the first name CNAME record, which already has www, to paste in that CNAME record that was given to us by Cloudboss. And I always set my time to load to automatic, and then I'm going to click save. And when I do that, it's going to automatically eliminate that second record. So it just saves a click. Does that make sense? Then I'm going to click add new record. I'm going to scroll down, select CNAME. Now I'm going to add, for the host is going to be the @ symbol. So that's the root domain. Paste in that target again. Time to load, set to automatic, click save changes. That's it. We're done. This domain is now hosted on Rackspace. We still have to add an HTML file though, right? So we're going to go back to, FTP for Rackspace. And right there at the very top, we're going to click log in. Now we're logged in just a second. We're going to be logged in via FTP to that specific slot in Rackspace. So what I've got for you guys was this file here. I think I shared, well, I don't know if I shared it yet or not. Probably not. I shared the tools with you guys earlier, but here I'm going to share these with you guys right now. This is the index template that I'm going to share with you. There's a couple of things that I'm going to describe here. So this is the index template. I know this is going way over, guys, and I apologize. My webinars always do. And then there's a robots.txt file here that I'm going to share with you as well. Just copy these down, copy the data from the file into a notepad file and save that to your computer, okay, for later use. But essentially the index, the template file is this here, but it's tokenized instead of having my data. And I did this just to provide a little bit of an additional, to save a little bit of time. I actually did this early. I actually did a redirect earlier to this cloud page, but for whatever reason, Majestic indexed not the appropriate version. It indexed the HTTP without www version of the URL, so it didn't actually pass any of the trust flow to this page yet because it didn't use the appropriate version of it. Anyways, that's all besides the point. What I just want to show you here, guys, is I've got this one set up. What I want to do is push topical trust flow, to this cloud page, the one that I just showed you guys earlier, which is this. So I'm going to take this domain here with 21 business, agriculture, and forestry topical trust flow, and I want to redirect that to here. So the HTML file that I just shared with you guys is a templated version of this. In fact, let me just go open that up so that I can just show that to you right here. Okay. So once this loads, guys, you can either download it, add the file to your drive, or just copy this data and then plug it into a notepad file. So if I just copy that and I open up the notepad file here, the one that we were using earlier, I'm just going to paste it in there. This is what I just shared with you guys. So it's been tokenized. Okay. So you guys just go in and swap out these tokens with brand/company name. This is the SEO title, the meta title. So this is in the HTML header. You see that? So why do I always say put brand name plus keyword, primary keyword? Because you start to make an association between the brand name and the primary keyword this way. Okay. Then you set the canonical to whatever the most the highest metric version of the homepage URL is. Isn't that what we identified here? Right. So what I would do is I would copy this URL here and I would go back and paste this in as the canonical. Okay. Then what I would do is I would put in Tree Care HQ Charlottesville tree removal service, perhaps, right? Then I would, the meta refresh here, this is, if now remember earlier in the slides, guys, I told you there's a few ways you can do this. You can build a page, an HTML page, you can use YACSS to do it, that has content and then links and embeds or whatever else that you want to your target asset. You can do that. That's perfectly fine. Or you can do a meta refresh, which is just like a redirect. Okay. The reason why there's a whole reason why we do meta refresh, because by the way, if you try to do a domain registrar redirect from Namecheap, it's a 302 redirect. It does not pass PageRank or link equity. So it's useless. If you try to do a page redirect using Cloudflare, unless you have a hosting account, like what we did with Rackspace just now, you can only get one version of the URL, generally with www, to redirect. The non-www version of it won't, because you have to set what's called a page rule in Cloudflare in order for it to work, and you have to have a cloud icon on. And the only way to do that is with the www. Anyways, long story short, meta refresh is the best way to do it if you want to just do a redirect. I don't recommend doing this to money sites. I only recommend doing the meta refresh to stuff like Cloud Pages or other tier 1 assets, but not to your tier 0 assets, which would be your money site, your Google business website, or your Google map. Does that make sense? I recommend not doing meta refreshes to those. Or you can do an embed. which would be like literally this very simple HTML file, and you get rid of the meta refresh code. And then you just do this embed code where in the H1 tag, you put brand name or company name, and then a supporting keyword. The SEO title has the primary keyword. The H1 tag has a supporting keyword plus brand name, again, to make the association between the brand and that keyword. And then you put the iframe with the source, the cloud page URL here. And then by the way, optional is in between the closing iframe tag. Right here, you can put a list of keywords in there. It's a good part, guys, a good place to put your keyword plus location modifier, comma, keyword plus location modifier, comma, keyword. You can spam the shit out of this right here. Does that make sense? And then that becomes a cloud hosted page that is just an embed of your target page with an optimized SEO title, an optimized H1 tag, and then keywords spammed and stuffed into the iframe tag. Does that make sense? Or is the iframe code? That's one of the things that you can do. And now instead of it redirecting or meta refreshing to your target asset, it's a single page, and all of that link relevance is going to, link equity is going to, and topical relevance is going to pass through that iframe to your target asset. The content of your iframed page or iframed URL is the content of this page now. So I'm doing a combination of both a meta refresh and an iframe. It's just another little trick. And in fact, what's pretty cool about that is it ends up appearing as 2 backlinks in Majestic. It's pretty interesting when you're looking at the final redirect URL. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of point that out, guys. And that's what you can do here. Again, cloud page URL would go here, or whatever you want to iframe into this page. And then you can add in these, you can omit that token right there entirely if you want, or you can squeeze additional keywords in there. All right. That said, I think I've explained that good enough. Right here is the kind of optimized file that I will be using for this. And you can see all I did was take that long URL from the cloud stack on Microsoft Azure. Now I just got to put the appropriate domain into there, which would be this one right here. So I'm going to copy that, come back over here, swap this out. Okay. Again, guys, in the, as I just showed you in this template here, you'll see there is an iframe title or name right here. I recommend you put a supporting keyword in there. That's what you're seeing right here. Tree service in Charlottesville, Virginia. You can play around with the iframe sizes if you're going to use the iframe. Again, you don't have to. This is just I just wanted to show you like the different versions. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and click save on that. You can go back over to Cloudboss. I'm going to click upload file, choose file, and I'm going to navigate to that. So I'm going to go to semantic links, admin, website files, and that should be that file right there. Click into upload. Now I've got an index page that should redirect. Let's go take a look at it. Boom. See, there's the, you see what just happened? Guys, we're going to go through that again. a-americanrealty.com. We just hosted this, right? Boom. So it goes to A-American. Now, if I go in and remove that meta refresh tag and just show you the embed, which I can do, well, the only problem with that is this is on Rackspace, and Rackspace has a 1-hour cache. So if I go in and remove the meta refresh tag now from the index file and then upload that index file again, it's still going to meta refresh until the cache clears, if that makes sense, which can be up to an hour. So it won't show it. If I had hosted this on Amazon S3, I could make changes immediately and it would show, you know, the new index file. But I chose Rackspace, and otherwise we wouldn't be able to see it. But just so you know, I could download that file or delete that file, make any changes I need, and then upload the new file, if that makes sense. So I could have showed you guys, and I probably should have done S3 just so I could have demonstrated that. But again, see how the page was embedded, but then it redirects to here. So now all of that link equity and that topical relevance is going to pass through. And again, I could have left it with just the iframe and removed the meta refresh. I don't need the iframe at all if I'm going to be doing the meta refresh, but I like to put both in there because why not? Because again, what ends up happening is it looks like 2 backlinks in Majestic when analyzing the backlink profile here. Now, we're not done yet, guys. I know we're way over, but I want to show you guys what else to do. So we edit the HTML file to include the index template, guys. You want to save that as index.html. Again, edit those, swap out the tokens. Canonical to the strongest version of the homepage URL, meta refresh to the cloud page URL, the SEO title and H1 with target keyword, and then iframe with the cloud page. And that's, again, you can You can swap out one or the other. If you want to just do a meta refresh, you don't have to have the iframe. If you want to do the iframe without the meta refresh, you can certainly do that. Then you upload via Cloudboss FTTP. I meant to clear that out because that should really be on the next slide. But I want to show you guys, I provided you also with a robots.txt file, and I'm going to share that with you here, because what that does is, in order for Majestic, for you to be able to add that domain that I just added to, in order for Majestic to be able to crawl that on Rackspace, it'll crawl it regardless. But if it was on, we got into the habit for any sites that are hosted in Rackspace or S3, we automatically just now add the robots.txt file. I'm going to show in the hosting. So I'm going to show you what that file looks like real quick right here. And some of you guys may want to modify this. I told you before, I don't give a shit about Ahrefs or SEMrush or Moz. I don't care. I don't care at all about those. And because all I care about is Majestic. Although, like I said, with the cloud pages, with those real high metrics, that's great. That's a bonus. I'll take it. But if you see as robots.txt file, I am blocking the .bot, which is Moz, excuse me, Ahrefs bot, and SEMrush bot. So that means that if other SEOs, which not a whole lot of SEOs use Majestic, most everybody uses Ahrefs. So if other SEOs want to go analyze my clients' projects, and they're not going to see a lot of the links that I'm building, because they're only going to see them if they're using Majestic. Does that make sense? Because I'm blocking all of those bots. So those spiders can't crawl these sites. Does that make sense? But Majestic is allowed. So that's why I use this. If you guys are using Ahrefs and you want to see the backlinks that you're building in your Ahrefs reports, then you're going to have to get rid of that user agent. So if that makes sense, remove that restriction. I don't care, because I want to block, most SEOs do not use Majestic. And so that's the only one that I want them, that I want to allow. So it's a very simple robots.txt file. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to have to pause the screen. Well, I don't know. Maybe I left that in the right place. Let me just check. Actually, I'll just pause the screen while I upload that or transfer that file into a better folder. Just give me 1 minute, guys. Right there. Oh, you know what? I already had it in that folder. Okay, well, there you go. Let's go back in here. I'm going to click on upload files, choose file. And I had one already there, robots. So I'm going to open that up, click upload. Okay, done. So now if we go over to that same URL, we can go see the robots file. See it? So there we go. So the reason we do that is because Majestic requires that for Amazon S3. Majestic does not crawl Amazon S3 sites, guys. It won't do it. It's blocked. I don't know why. Amazon blocks Majestic unless, and this was Amazon blocks Majestic. This was hosted on Rackspace, but we just got in the habit of just all sites hosted on Amazon S3 or Rackspace. We always do this, right? But I'm going to show you, you're going to go to tools, you're going to go to verified domains. You're going to click add domain, paste the URL in, click verify. It's going to give you the option to upload or do one of these three things. I go to text file, next, click here to download. I'm going to download that into my downloads folder, click save. I'm going to go back to Cloudboss, click upload files, choose file, go to my downloads folder. I'm going to grab that MJ12. That's what the bot is called, by the way. The MJ12 bot is the Majestic bot. I'm going to copy that. It's a text file or highlight it, click open, click upload. It's just a verification file, just like Search Console will give you as one of the ways to verify a site. And so now if I were to visit americanrealty.com/ and in that long string of characters, I would see a text file that says this is a text file. That's literally what it says. But this is just the verification code that Majestic needs. So we're going to go back over here and we're going to click verify. And that's right here. You can see it says processing. Boom, verified. So now Majestic can crawl this. So the last thing that I do is go to tools, URL submitter. Then I go copy that version of the URL, the appropriate version of the URL. So let me just copy that to clipboard if I don't already have it, which is this one. and I'm going to paste that in and click submit. So this is telling Majestic to go crawl that domain. Does that make sense? Or to crawl that site. So within the next 72 hours, it's generally done within 3 days. I can go analyze the link profile of this site right here, and I will see that. So let me just show you what I mean. As I said earlier, I did a redirect from this site earlier to this one yesterday. Actually, I did that redirect. I'll just show you what I mean. If I go to naturecalendar.org and open that up, you see how I just did the exact same thing that I just showed you guys with the other. What's interesting here is, for whatever reason, Majestic, I'm not sure why I did this time, but it's showing 0 metrics for this. But if I just add www to this, that was what I was trying to push to that page. So I just sent it to Majestic to recrawl with the www version of it, and I should see those metrics reflected into here. It will pick up the one that I just added, the A-American Realty or whatever it was, usually within 3 days, okay? Because now it's verified and I submitted it for crawling. So I should see the business, agriculture, and forestry start to reflect in Majestic Metrics for this domain or this page within the next 3 days or so. And then also, once it recrawls that nature calendar link, I should also see some home/gardening topical trust flow. Does that make sense? And so that's how you guys do it. It's really that simple. I know it took a long time to get there because most of the time is spent in spam checking domains, finding domains. But once you find them, it's a very, very simple process. As I said, though, guys, you can actually just use YACSS to. I wouldn't recommend doing a whole lot of sites like that until there's other templates available, because you don't want a footprint from the same sort of template used over and over and over again for backlinks pointing to your target assets. So there is something to be said. Like I have for my link building business, we have a team of HTML builders, like site builders, like a team of guys are in India that they build HTML sites for all of these links that I build for my clients. And so like there's literally hundreds of HTML templates that they pull from. So we have like everything is diverse and unique. And I pay them on a per site basis for building those sites. So I don't recommend doing a lot of YACSS sites on hosted domains until there's multiple other templates available. And even then, remember, everybody else is using those templates too. So here's something, guys, that I didn't. Do they add schema to all the HTML sites? No, James, we don't do that. That's you can. I don't. We don't. Because it doesn't make sense to add. I mean, if we were going to add schema, it would just be web page schema, if that makes sense. Because we don't want to leave footprints with like local business schema across dozens of HTML sites hosted, if that makes sense. But I would do like web page schema. It's probably something I should add in. That actually pretty good idea. But here's one other thing that I want to show you guys. Is called MobiRise. This is a really good HTML site builder that it's like drag and drop. It's really good. So you guys can use this if you're going to be doing a lot of HTML hosted sites for the method that I just shared with you guys. Go check this out. It's really inexpensive. At least it used to be. I paid $99 for a year. Now it's $149 per year. So it's gone up a little bit. It's gone up $50, but it's totally worth it, guys. They have dozens and dozens and dozens of templates, and it's a drag and drop HTML site builder, just like any other page builder. Elementor, Bakery, like all of those other page builders. It's very similar, but all it does is HTML sites. So I would encourage you guys, if you're going to do a lot of these kind of cloud host builds, that you pay $149, and then you start having unique. I mean, some of these are beautiful. They've got a lot of templates, but then, like I said, you can just, by the way, you know where this template came from? Me, from MobiRise. I built that template in MobiRise and then gave it to Jesper when he told me he was building YACSS. He was like, do you have any HTML templates? And I was like, well, I got this one. And I gave it to him. This is an HTML template from MobiRise that I gave to Jesper. So, but all of us are using this right now. So I recommend, if you're going to be doing a lot of this, that you go out and get something like MobiRise and build your own templates so that you have unique, so diversity essentially. Okay. James says, what's best to use for hosting MobiRise? I'm not sure what you mean, because I use Cloudboss. I just use Cloudboss for that. Like I build whatever pages I need. And again, I don't even do this at all anymore because I have a team that does this. Like 3 or 4 guys that that's all they do is build HTML sites. all week long because I send them a shit ton of work. And so I don't even do these at all anymore. But when I did do a few of these on my own, it was, I build them in MobiRise, download the HTML files and upload them to Cloudboss right here. And it's done. Okay. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I don't know what else is left. For Majestic indexing, we already went through that. Oh, and then all these guys, you also want to submit them to an indexer. You know, I like Jesper for all of my link building clients. I use Index Me Now. Index Me Now is incredibly expensive. So some of the other good ones would be like speed-links.net. If you go with the VIP plans, it's like $10 a month to get up to, I think, 500 URL submissions per month. I'll just go visit that. That's a good one too. Speed-links.net. That's a good one too. It's not as good as Index Me Now, but it's a hell of a lot less expensive. With the VIP plans is what you would need, 500 per month for $10, or 2,000 per month for $38. So this is a good service too for indexing. Like I said, Index Me Now is what I use for all my client rebuilds because I want to make sure that they get indexed. It's rather expensive though. We're going to select, they're in France, but I'm going to select English. Okay. And then if we take a look at the pricing here, you'll see this is expensive. I always go with the $1,000 whenever I buy them, because then it ends up being 49 cents per indexed URL. But the beautiful thing about this is even though it's expensive, if you buy $50, it's 82 cents per indexed URL. I usually pay for this because I do a lot of volume and I pay 49 cents per indexed URL. But the good thing about this is if it's not indexed in 10 days, then it credits that credit back. So I know Jesper uses this too, at least for the top page, the buffer page within a cloud stack. And then I said he thinks the rest of the I think he uses SynBite. I've never used SynBite because I'm happy with SpeedLinks. I've been using SpeedLinks for like 6 months. So I use this for like other cloud pages within the stack, for example. But I use this for all my rebuilds that I do on hosted domains for my clients, if that makes sense. Okay. And I think that was it. I don't think there's anything else. Right. All right. So guys, I'll go through some questions and then we're going to wrap it up for the day. I know this went like almost 2.5 hours now. I did not expect for it to go that long, but did you guys get a lot out of this? Do you think this was valuable? This is exactly the process that I use, guys, for my semantic links business. It works really, really well. It's all about pushing topical relevance. It's a super, super good way to make, especially when you've got like cloud pages that already have traditional metrics, like high traditional metrics. This is how you make them so much more valuable. You push topical relevance into them. And I just showed you exactly how to do it, guys. You saw, I mean, you registered a domain it's between 10 to 15 bucks to register a domain. That's it. And then very quickly you can plug it. Like you don't even need, again, I don't recommend doing a lot of meta refreshes to money assets, like to target assets, money sites. Don't do that because that's not a good sign. But you can do it to like cloud pages all day long. You can meta refresh to those, or just do iframes as your content on a rebuilt domain, right? You just do that iframe code. You can eliminate the meta refresh and just embed your cloud page, and your cloud page already has the content that becomes the content of that page. If that makes sense. So there's a number of ways that you can shortcut, make the job more efficient. If you're going to be doing a lot of this stuff for clients and stuff, then that's where it makes sense to, pick a AI writing assistant tool and use that. Like we use for our link building business, we primarily use WriterZen for that because it does the outline builder. It also has the AI writer in it. We also use Jasper quite a bit still. We might use WriterZen to develop the outline, but then use Jasper. Jasper tends to flesh out an outline much quicker if you know how to use Jasper. So we generally use WriterZen for the outline and keyword research, and then we do topic research, then keyword research, and then we generate the outline. And then once the outline is generated, we can use the AI writing assistant inside of WriterZen, but like I said, Jasper is typically a lot faster once you're proficient using Jasper to flesh out an outline. And that's how you get Jasper to do good, by the way. If you have a really good outline, Jasper is really good for that stuff. I used Article Forge for a while, but Article Forge spits out as much junk as it does good stuff. So it just ends up causing so much more editing work. It's just not worth it. I do like Article Forge for some stuff, but it's kind of a pain in the ass when you're trying to develop like a 1,500 word article. you have to do 7 250-word articles. And then you eliminate a lot of stuff to end up with a decent article. That's the only way it really works. So anyway. Okay, guys, I'm going to go through the questions very quickly and we're going to wrap it up. Daryl says, is this going to be recorded? Yes, I already answered that. Of course it is. You guys will get the recording. Alex says, do you recommend sending CTR to the cloud sites? And do you still use Google Traffic Viper for this purpose? Yeah, I still use Viper, but for referral traffic, which is what I do with all of my link building clients, like all the tier 1 links, we send referral traffic through them because an active link, a link that gets clicks, is weighted so much heavier in Google's mind. If you guys didn't know this, there is a real thing called link atrophy. Link atrophy is when a link never, if a page where a link is placed never gets any traffic, then over time, Google devalues that link. Does that make sense? If the page gets traffic, but the link never gets clicked, then there's still link atrophy, but it's much slower. It atrophies over a much longer period of time because the page is getting traffic. If the page doesn't get any traffic and the link wouldn't get any clicks if there's no traffic on it, then it atrophies rather quickly, which means it's devalued fairly quickly. And I'm sure it varies depending on a ton of different variables. I don't know what any of those variables are, but links do atrophy unless there's activity. So that's why what we do at Semantic Links is for all tier 1 links, I just once a month, I go extract all the new rebuilds. I call them rebuilds, but the tier 1 rebuilds for any particular client. And I open up their CTR booster campaign. That's what I started to say. I use CTR booster for referral traffic campaigns. And I plug on all the domains that we rebuilt at tier 1 into the referral traffic referrer box. And then there's in the target URL box, which is the top box in CTR booster, I put 3 URLs in: the money site URL or the target page URL, depending on what it is, either homepage or an inner page, the Google Business website URL, and then the Google Map CID URL. Because those are the 3 tier 0 assets that we build links to within our tier 1 rebuilds. So the CTR bot will open up, and I always set random Latin long points within geo coordinates within a radius around the business. And we do referral traffic through the tier 1 links. And when it opens that up, and I'm using mobile proxies, I have my own private proxy for that, my own private mobile service. It's fantastic. Anyway, I run traffic through that tier 1 link. It opens it up, scrolls around on the page for a few seconds. You know, I've got it set random, like 22 to like 47 seconds or something like that. So it'll spend some dwell time on the page, and then it will find one of the 3 target URLs and click through and then engage on that destination page, which is money site, Google Business website, or Google Map. If it's a Google Map embed, it won't find the CID URL. The only time it will find the CID URL is if I'm actually linking with an anchor text link to the CID URL, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, I do that because it makes those tier 1 links more valuable, and they stay valuable as long as I'm sending traffic through them. Does that make sense? And you don't need a lot, guys. A couple of clicks a month, no kidding. So like I might have a client that, you know, I've built 15 tier 1 links to as tier 1 rebuilds. That's, again, I call them rebuilds. And what I'll do is I'll set a campaign up that'll be like 3 clicks a day, and I'll have all 15 domains in the referrer box. And so it'll just randomly pick one of those 15 domains each time for 3 visits a day. So over the course of a month, it gets like 90 visits across 15 referring domains, if that makes sense. So it doesn't need a lot. You don't need a lot of clicks for that, guys. That's why it's great. And you can just keep going in. Like I said, I just do set these up once a month and go in and edit an existing campaign to add the new tier 1 rebuilds into the list, if that makes sense. And then sometimes I'll increase the number of clicks, you know, from 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 or whatever. Okay. Okay, that one's been answered. Next one is James says, would you crawl local sites along with topical sites? I answered that one, yes. And that's specifically for finding link opportunities from other locally relevant sites. You generally aren't going to find much, but you can. And like I said, then topical relevance doesn't matter at that point. Literally, you can throw out the whole Majestic topical trust flow value at all. Like I get a link that has 0 trust flow from a local site, that's still a valuable link because of its geographic relevance. That helps with maps ranking. So absolutely. Okay. Next one is there a way to check the historical topical relevance of a domain across, say, a 5-year span? Yeah, I mean, again, in Cloudboss, you can do that, right? So let me just show you. And you can do it in the Wayback Machine too, but it's just a lot slower. So if we go to domain tools and go to rebuilder, and we'll just take whatever, we'll take this one, A American Realty. We'll plug it in, click submit. And then we scroll down and we'll say, like, if I want to go back 5 years, there's June 25th, 2017. That's 5 years. And we click on that and we just, we can go back as far back as the records. This goes all the way to 2009. So like I said, the servers are slow. It sometimes you'll be waiting for 90 seconds. Look at that. This was a real estate site, which makes sense. A American Realty. This was a listing site. Looks like a local real estate listing site from 2017. So yeah, you can go back and click further back and see what it was. Okay. Is there a way? I just answered that one. Excuse me. Is there? Okay. That must have been posted multiple times. Next one. What's the link to the mastermind? Mastermind.semanticmastery.com. I'll put that in the mastermind.semanticmastery.com. Guys, I teach absolutely everything in the mastermind. Like everything. I'm an open book there. So I can get into it even deeper over there, guys. I'll post this in the chat channel. Okay. But there you go. Okay. Next, Ken says, are there no issues with using HTTP and not HTTPS? I understand in this instance that has the best metrics, but HTTP still indexes no problems. Yeah, still indexes no problems whatsoever. And interestingly enough, I actually found out that if you end up using SSL, even if the metrics show the HTTP is the best version, the strongest version of the URL, if you end up including SSL, eventually the trust flow transfers over. It doesn't happen immediately. Sometimes it takes a few weeks, but eventually the HTTPS version of the URL will benefit from those metrics. Again, it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. And I kind of discovered that just by accident. And that was actually from another thing that we don't have time to get into today, that forces HTTPS and www for every domain that I add. It's a whole nother system for building PBNs, which I said that I don't do, but I'm just starting to do that a little bit in a very specific way. But anyway, I'm not even going to reveal that here, guys. If you want to learn about that, I just talked about it in the last mastermind webinar on Thursday last week, which is in the members area now. And I went through a whole really exciting process on that too. But anyways, that forces HTTPS and www. And at first that pissed me off because I had added a bunch of domains that didn't use www or HTTPS. But over time, over a few weeks, most of those metrics will carry over to that form of the URL. If that makes sense. Okay. Next, Ken says, and Ken, you're in the mastermind, so you know what I'm talking about. I just talked at length about this on Thursday, which I'm super excited about that still. Where are you linking the blob sites that was built on YACSS to? So you mean this one? This one links directly to the location landing page for that. This is a lead gen site, and this is the site that links to. See that? So I just have tree service Charlottesville, Virginia as the anchor text. It links directly to this page. Okay. Also, guys, if you guys aren't doing this, I think Jesper covered this, but all of these images are hot linked images from Google Business Posts. Don't upload images. I mean, if you're doing this for local, go grab local, or like if we open image in new tab, that's on the Google user content. This is a hosted photo from Google Business Posts. All it is a URL. That's, again, guys, that's how you add more relevance from these cloud pages back to a Google Business asset. Is don't upload photos, copy the URL from your Google Business Posts, and then use that as the URL for your images. And those are all hot linked images. Again, open image in new tab. See that? That's on Google. Actually, this one came from the Tree Care HQ, that money site page. I think it's because it was skewed in the for whatever reason. And this is another one like that, it looks like. So I got a few of them coming from, and you can do that too, by the way, hot link images from the money site too. But oftentimes I'll just do it with the Google Business Post photos, if that makes sense. Okay. Next, expired domains only ever have one page of content. Mine do, Peter, just because I'm building single page HTML sites. You can add additional pages and you can build PBNs if you want, put WordPress on them and everything else if you want. I don't, because again, I didn't want to build, I'm not building private blog sites. I'm building HTML sites where all of the link relevance and topical relevance from that domain are pushing through to its intended target, and its intended target only, meaning I'm not bleeding out. I'm not building those links from those to other pages or other sites. You can do that though. That's just not my, that's not my method. Okay. What is the difference you've seen for ranking boost between just using cloud sites versus adding tier 3 of expired domain rebuilds? The jury's still out. I see better results from adding the topical relevance for sure, but I have not tested all of Jesper's different, like, kind of advanced cloud stacking methods. I don't do a lot of like mass page stuff, which I know that Jesper's been crushing it with that. I'm not saying that not to do it. I just have not tested a lot with that. I tend to keep my stacks much smaller, like 4 or 5 pages, and that's it. And what I typically do, like long before YACSS came out, guys, I was buying done for you cloud stacks from Jesper for my link building business. I was just, that was part of what I offered to my link building clients, and he was my outsourcer for that. Jesper was. And I would always take the top cloud page or the buffer site. That's what I would push topical relevance to, not the supporting pages within the wheels. Although you can do that too. You can push topical relevance into those too. And I always got better results from them that way. So I have not done a whole lot of testing. I have not had the time to do a bunch of testing with the different configurations of different stack structures and all of that. Eventually, I do want to do some more testing with that. But anything Jesper's tested and tells you to do, just do, because he knows what he's doing. Is there any ballpark average of cloud links you send to a local site to get first page ranking? How many? No, it varies. Again, it varies. I typically don't do more than like 1 from each cloud host. So like Azure, S3, Google Cloud Storage, Backblaze, which I haven't even done anything with Backblaze yet. Wasabi, I've done some of those, but I generally won't do more than like any tier 1 link to a money site. I'll do like 1 from each cloud host, and then that's it. Like I stop there. Then I'll do like maybe tier 2 cloud stacks to those cloud pages, if that makes sense. But I don't like to do a bunch of links from the same source to a money site, which if you do, multiple Microsoft Azure cloud stacks to your money site, then you're getting multiple links from the same referring domain. Does that make sense? And I don't like to do that. I like to keep diversity. So I will do a cloud page from each one of the cloud hosts in YACSS, and then I will just power those up. Like I'll do a whole bunch of tier 2 link building to those pages, but I have unique referring domains for each one of those. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Ed says, or Erdal, I'm sorry, if you want to have a buffer between our money page and the cloud pages, what do you recommend? There's not really a need to if you're using the top buffer page, but if I had to pick any of them, it would be Google Sites or Blogger. Guys, Blogger is so underutilized. I'm telling you, in SEO, you guys are missing out if you're not using Blogger. I know everybody thinks, oh, well, it's an old blogger, Web 2. Who cares about Blogger? It's a Google account, guys. It's a Google property. Use Blogger. And again, I just showed you guys, you can hack meta refresh code into a Blogger HTML header, right? You can redirect from Blogger to money site. So that's just another thing that you can do. But Blogger is so underutilized, guys. Publish unique, well-tuned content on Blogger, just like you would a money site post or a money site page. And then make that Blogger post, or it can be a page, but generally it's a post. Make that Blogger post with well-optimized content, link to your money site, do a Google Map embed, and then also link to or embed your Google website, Google business website into the Blogger post. And now make that Blogger post a primary tier 1 link target. And now you can power that up. You can hammer a Blogger post with cloud stacks all day long. And then you can also inject topical relevance the same way I just shared with you guys. But Blogger or Google Sites would be my favorite 2 buffers between a cloud page and a money site, because they're Google properties, All right, moving on. Last question. Peter says, and then I'll get to comments, guys, and we're going to wrap it up. Do you use any other tier 3 links to cloud sites like comment backlinks Jesper mentioned? No, I don't do any more bulk spam at all. None. Ever since I started doing this rebuild method with topical relevance, I do absolutely no bulk spam at all, period. In my opinion, it's a complete waste of time. It's a waste of money. I understand it can work, but my point is I can go out and pick up for the same cost of unless you have your own bulk spam link building tools. I don't like to run any of those tools. Never have, never care. That's why for many years I used Dedia from MGYB, but he was my link builder long before there was any of that stuff with Semantic Mastery and what used to be called MGYB, which now Rob and Marco over at the Heavy Hitter Clubs, they took that when Marco left Semantic Mastery. We take that fucking store with you. We don't want it. Like, seriously. Anyways, I always use Dedia for bulk link spam. And for years, that's all I did was bulk links. And I just hired him to do it because I never enjoyed running those kind of tools. I always thought that was tedious work and I never liked it. So I just hired somebody out to do that. But over the last year, I've really, again, discovered that topical relevance is where it's at. And instead of me spending $50 or $100 to hire somebody to run a link spam campaign, that most of those links aren't going to be indexed, or I'm going to have to pay more money to send them through indexers. And it still takes weeks, if not months, to get them indexed, if they index at all. And by the time they index, a lot of them get suspended or terminated and deleted off the web anyways, because it's pure spam, right? So instead of me, again, if any of you guys are using bulk spam and it's working for you, by all means, keep doing it. I'm just telling you personally, I don't like to do it because I can go out and spend $50 on 5 domains that I can pick up with topical relevance in the exact topical trust flow category that I need, with inbound link profiles that had relevant content on them prior to me picking them up. And I can build them out very quickly, very inexpensively, and I can have topical relevance pushing into whatever asset it is that I need. And that link is going to stay live. I don't have to worry about indexing. They get indexed. I don't have to worry about them being deleted because I'm hosting them, right? So there's no reason for me to go through. I don't use bulk spam at all anymore. And I haven't now for several months. Okay. You guys can, like I said, by all means, if you guys are into using bulk spam and it works for you, keep doing it. I'm just telling you, I don't do it because I got tired of spending money on links that weren't producing an effect, and that you have to keep buying more bulk spam in order for them to be effective. I don't like that. I like building stuff one time and it provides long-term effect. Okay. And again, that's my own methodology, guys. There's a million ways to skin a cat. I just do it the way that I do it. And I just shared with you how I do it. So I'm going through the comments last here, guys, and then we're going to wrap it up. The questions are done. Onpage.ai. Thank you, Alex. That's a great tool. It's expensive, but it's a good tool. What's my tool of choice? If not Ahrefs, it's Majestic. This is gold. Thank you. You're welcome, Peter. Let's see. So potential domains or expired domains or just more target domains. Let's see. Peter says, so potential domains are all expired domains or just more target domains that can be crawled. Yeah. Okay. So potential domains, I'm not sure I understand. I think that potential domains are domains for me, like that are available to spam check. Does that make sense? Like, in other words, in PBN Lab, it lists what are supposed to all be available for purchase or registration. They're not always. Sometimes you'll find some in there that for whatever reason, they're in the queue or in the list, but when you go to purchase them, they've already been registered. And it's not that, like, from the time that you crawled it and the time that you went to register it, somebody registered it, although that can sometimes happen. It's generally like it was registered 2 years ago, and I don't know why it's in the queue or as a potential domain. I don't know if that was what you were asking, but that's what I'm talking about. We're almost done, guys. Can cloud sites withstand more spam? I already answered that. How many redirect websites do you like to point to each cloud site you build? I don't really do a whole lot of them. I just more recently started doing that because cloud sites can take it. Like, again, I wouldn't do a bunch of redirects to a money site. That's always a red flag, but cloud sites, a whole different set of rules because they're on those really aged high authority cloud storage domains. So that's, again, a completely different set of rules. So I haven't done any testing to determine a particular threshold. I probably wouldn't do more than, 3 or 4 of them, because the other option would be to just remove the meta refresh code and just do a straight embed. You can take that cloud page and embed it into a rebuilt domain that is nothing other than an HTML header, an SEO title, an H1 header, and then an embed code, which is your cloud page. So you can mix and match between meta refreshes and cloud pages or embedded cloud pages. And then you can also build other HTML pages that you host on those rebuilt domains that have normal content in them, and then just a traditional anchor text link. a contextual link. That's how you can inject even more relevance, right? You put a really relevant article on a page that you then publish onto the domain with an anchor text link with the appropriate anchor text pointing back to your target page. Again, you inject more topical relevance that way. So you mix and match between meta refreshes, straight embeds or iframes where the page is nothing other than an H1 tag and an iframe, and then traditional link building through contextual links. Just do a combination of the three and you won't ever have to worry about it. Okay. Cool. James says, I actually downloaded MobiRise today and built a site easy. Yeah, it's a great tool, guys. How many expired domains do you like to point to each cloud site you build? Again, I just answered that. You know, I don't, it's not about quantity for me. It's about topical relevance. So it's always about like what, first of all, like if you get a topical trust flow or a trust flow domain with 30 plus, which those are super valuable. It's hard to find those. I typically find between trust flow 10 and 20, 10 to 20, between 10 and 20 is fairly easy. And I would say even up to 25. Once you get above trust flow 25, they start to become a lot scarcer, a lot harder to come by. Getting above 30 it's kind of rare and pass all the spam checks. So for me, it's not about the number of links. It's about pushing topical trust flow into a high metric of 25 or higher. Typically for me is kind of like my target. Once I get it to there, then like I said, I'll also look at like, where else can I use these rebuilt domains instead of just pushing the cloud pages? That's what today's training was about. But I'll also do rebuilds to direct to the money site. Like I said, I always build links to all three tier 0 assets at the same time. Money site, Google Business Website, Google Map. Then I'll start targeting inner pages, Amazon S3, the ID page. If anybody's followed Semantic Mastery for any amount of time knows that we like to use HTML hosted our HTML S3 bucket hosted, what we call ID pages, which is nothing other than an iframe stack. So that becomes a primary link building target for these types of sites or the rebuilds. Press Advantage organization page, again, a Semantic Mastery thing. We always build links to the Press Advantage organization page, top cloud page in a cloud stack as a primary tier 1 link building target. A Google site, Blogger, as I just mentioned, is a fantastic tier 1 link that then I build a bunch of tier 2 rebuilds to. And then also batch geo maps. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't have time to talk about that today, but batch geo maps are also, if you're doing local, it helps with maps ranking. So I like to build a bunch of links to those. So those are like my favorite tier 1 targets, as well as also building links directly to the money site and the Google Business Website and the Google Map. Okay. Are you seeing any benefit to the YACSS 100 plus pages? Matthias, I have not tried that. As I said, I don't like to do a lot of mass page stuff because there's very little referring domain diversity from that. I know Jesper's crushing it with that. I don't like mass page stuff. I never have. So I just don't do it. I've been sticking to doing like 5-page builds. So with Microsoft Azure being the top page and then like the umbrella stack with the bottom 4 pages on each one of each individual other cloud hosts, things like that. I've not tested any of those bigger builds. I just haven't had time to do it. So I don't have any data on that at all. God, you guys got a shit ton of questions still or comments. Do you use any other tier 3 links to cloud sites? I already mentioned that or answered that. No. Andrew, yes, there will be a replay. Can you check the Q&A box, please? I already did, Alex. Answered all that. Omega Indexer. It's not working like it used to. I have an Omega Indexer too. I do submit like citations and things through Omega Indexer, but it doesn't work like it used to. Alex says Synbite works really well for cloud sites. Yeah, I know Jesper's using that. I've never used Synbite. I've seen it before, but I've always been happy with Index Me Now and Speed Links. So I just use those two. Omega has been dead for a while now. That's what I thought, Alex. I know that it's not working like it used to. Peter says, okay, for the 3rd time, Peter. No, I do not use any more tier 3 links. Okay, moving on. If we want to have a buffer, but okay, that's been answered again, guys. That's why I mentioned at the beginning, if use the Q&A box, guys, so you don't have to post the same question 18 times. On the tier 1 cloud pages that you're redirecting domains to, do you use money anchors or brand anchors? Great question. For those of you that stuck around this long, I've got one more thing I'll share with you, which I should have put this in there, but I didn't. That's a great question. Let me show you something. You guys can keep bookmark this. right here is my strategy, guys. I told you I teach all of this in the mastermind. This is my strategy right here. It's not a hard and fast rule, but this is a general guideline. Excuse me. So at tier 1, which are linking to tier 0 assets, linking to or embedding tier 0 assets, I typically stick with brand/URL anchors, mostly brand anchors, not very much URL anchors. I actually don't like to use URL anchors very much. It's not a very natural way to link to things, so I don't like to do it. To a lesser degree, embeds. There's a caution about embedding the money site, though. The caution about embedding a money site is sometimes a domain that you pick up, if you do an embed to the money site, sometimes the domain that you rebuild is stronger than the money site, and it will rank and it cannibalizes the money page if you do an embed. You got to be careful about that. I just learned that recently from one of my own projects. I embedded a money page into a domain that had really good metrics, and the domain ranked, the rebuilt domain ranked, but my money site disappeared out of the index. And why? Is because it was just an iframe. And so the content remained, like it was basically the same content, but it was not my money site domain that ranked. So anyway, to get back to what I was saying, at tier 1, I generally build just brand anchors or compound anchors, which is a brand anchor plus keyword or brand plus location, things like that. And this is just because this is the safest way to do it. You can't over optimize brand anchor text. You can't over optimize brand anchor text. You guys understand that? You can still build too many links or too many links too quickly, but you can't over optimize. You can't get penalized for having too many brand anchors to your money site. So generally, this is a rule of thumb. There's five anchor text categories that I classify all types of anchors into. Brand/URL. You guys understand what that is? Brand name or brand plus keyword, brand plus location, brand plus whatever, or a URL anchor. We all know what that is, a naked URL. I don't typically do many of those, but so that's category number 1. Category number 2 are miscellaneous, or another term for that is generic. So that would be like click here, learn more, website, this post, that kind of stuff. Top category number 3 is empty/frame anchors. Empty/frame anchors would be a redirect, like a meta refresh or a straight redirect, 301 redirect, a image URL, image backlink from like a photo that does not contain alt text. If it has alt text, the alt text is your anchor text, in case you didn't know that. Or an iframe or /embed. That's an empty/frame anchor. So that's category 3. Category 4 is target anchors. Target is keyword plus location modifier. So that can be keyword plus city, or city plus keyword, or keyword plus near me, or one of the many variants of near me, like in my area, close to me, nearby, around me. All of those are all location modifiers. So again, anchor text category 4 is target, and anchor text category 5 is topic anchors. Topic anchors are keyword only, so product or service only, without location modifier. So it's one of 5 anchor text categories that I always classify all anchor texts into. And this is the general rule of thumb that we use. At tier 1, linking directly to tier 0 assets, we go really heavy on brand anchors, more so than URLs and more so than embeds. You can do embeds with the Google Business website and the Google Map, but caution, be careful with embedding the money site, because again, a really clean, powerful domain can actually outrank and actually cannibalize your money site if you embed it. And again, I just discovered that within the last few weeks. So we stay away from doing embeds to the money site, but the Google Business website, embed that shit a lot. Same thing with your Google Map. But go real heavy on brand anchors at tier 1. At tier 2, go heavy on target anchors and mix some topic anchors in there too, right? So again, target, keyword plus location modifier, topic is keyword only. At tier 3, straight up topic anchors. Don't ever intentionally build miscellaneous anchors, guys. You hear me say that? Like, I know other people will tell you, you want some generics in your link profile. Yeah, but why would you intentionally build generic anchors to your money site when you naturally should accrue those anyways through like citations and Google Business posts, for example? CTA button, which is a do follow link from a Google Business post, says either book or learn more. The 2 types that you can insert a URL in for the CTA button in a Google Business post is the anchor text is going to be the button text, which is either book or learn more. So typically learn more. Those are generic or miscellaneous anchors. You don't need to build miscellaneous anchors. If you have to adjust your anchor text ratios to put it into a more appropriate range, perhaps you have an over-optimized anchor text ratio. then publish a press release and put a miscellaneous anchor or generic anchor in there or something like that. And that's just it's called pillowing, right? You can pillow that way. But if you're going to go out and build topically relevant expired domains with, topical relevance, inbound link profiles that were relevant, former content was relevant, you're going to don't ever build a generic or miscellaneous anchor directly to your money site. It's worthless. It's stupid. You should have your anchor text should describe what it's linking to. As per Google's own, I know they typically like to provide misdirection, mislead. I know Google does that, but in today's web and the semantic web with BERT, now MUM, all of that, like Google understands words and the meaning behind words. So you should be using descriptive anchor text to link to whatever it's linking to. And when you're using target anchors, guys, I'm telling you, stop just building like, and this is a poor example of that. But this is like, let me just show you what I mean. Excuse me. All right. So at the top of this cloud page, I have a target anchor that links to the money site. Does that make sense? Tree service, Charlottesville, Virginia. Again, Google we are past 2014, guys, where we would do target anchors like tree service Culpeper, VA, or tree trimming Culpeper, or something like that. I live in Culpeper, so that's why I'm using that as an example. Put stop words in. Like your anchor text should be it should be using natural speech patterns, natural language patterns, right? So like tree service in Charlottesville, Virginia. Right? Put in there is what I'm saying. And put a comma after Charlottesville. Like this is a poor example of that because this was built a while back, but there's actually, in fact, I know we're going way over, but you guys, like just when I thought I was done, you pull me back in. Let me just show you something. Majestic blog. Whoops, got my mouse. All right, got to show you this. This is a really good article in Majestic about this. A really good article. And I was doing this already anyways, right here. This is a great article. I was doing this already anyways, and I wondered why it was working so well. And then I read this article and it made all sense. It made perfect sense. Sorry, I'm trying to close this shit out. All right, I'm going to drop this in the Slack in the chat, guys, as well. But when you get a chance, read this. All right. So right here, this is actually Google's own documentation about anchor text specifically. Okay. And again, I understand Google likes to mislead us, guys, and misdirect. I understand all of that, but this is logical and it makes sense, especially with BERT and now MUM and with natural language processor being able to understand the meaning of words now, of language. It's really important. And so this is telling you like, when you write a complete, let's see. To write effective link text, use one of the following forms. Make the link text match the exact text of the title or heading that you're referencing, or write a description of the destination page to use as the link text, capitalized as if it's part of the sentence. So in other words, it should have proper capitalization and everything. And that's important. So including stop words is important. And again, like that's part of the reason I don't like to, again, not recommended miscellaneous anchors. And there's no reason to. Naturally, your site is going to accrue miscellaneous anchors from citations, from Google Business Posts, from scraper sites, all kinds of stuff. They're just gonna, so anybody, you should never intentionally build, at least not from valuable backlinks, miscellaneous anchors. You should use descriptive text to what the link is linking to, what it should describe what it's linking to within the anchor text. Does that make sense? Including stop words. So that's, again, I don't have time because we're going to run out of time. I mean, we're already way over. But another thing here is right here, this YouTube video about BERT, which is about 3 years old now, I think. Actually, that's interesting. They must have updated that. This is from February 17, 2022. I swear to God, I've seen this video before that. Anyway, I don't know, maybe they updated the date, but anyways, guys, check this out. And it's in that blog post in Majestic, but watch that when you get a chance, guys. This talks about kind of like how BERT really helps to understand and why, like, again, why is it important to Google to fully describe the meaning in the anchor text? And this video is about 3 minutes long, and it tells you that 3 minutes and 2 seconds long. So like it completely transformed how I build backlinks and anchor text. Going through this article, it's just a short article, but read through this. Link context matters. It really does. And so that's why all the links that we build for my link building business, we always include stop words. We don't just do tree service Culpeper, VA. I know that was a poor example to show you with the tree service Charlottesville, Virginia. That's not how I build links within contextual links. With contextual links, always it's natural speech patterns. Like they always read properly, proper to capitalization. They have commas when commas are necessary. You know, whatever it takes. Okay. All right, guys, I got to wrap it up, but I think we're just about done. On the tier 1 cloud pages that you read, let's see. Yeah, money site anchors. Okay, guys, sorry, I didn't post this image for you guys. I'm going to share this with you now. That's my local link building method right there and how I build them out. Who do you recommend for mobile proxies? I have my own private source. I can get you access to it. It's about $600 a month. I don't know if you want it, but that's what I use. It's blazing fast. I have my own SIM cards and data plans, bandwidth, and all of that. So, but I do a lot of CTR. So it's $600 a month. If you're interested in that, let me know, and I can get you access to it. It's expensive, but it's good. Daniel says, are you rebuilding the content from the domains that you have purchased, or are you creating new content, brand new content? As I mentioned before, we used mostly Writers and Jasper, but we flesh out all of the tier 1 rebuilds have to have a minimum of 1,000 words of relevant content. So when we base our content around the anchor text that we're going to use to link back to the target asset. So we try to work that anchor text into the title, and then we develop an outline. It's always the same process. We do topic research, keyword research, then we build the outline. And once the outline's built, we flesh it out either using Writers and AI Writer or Jasper. Jasper's faster. So we generally use Jasper to flesh the outline out, but that's the key to getting Jasper to work well, is to have a really well-defined outline, excuse me. And it's 1,000 words minimum of relevant content. James says, do you ever use HTML themes on ThemeForce? I have a few, but like I said, now that I use MobiRise, and I've got, well, again, I haven't built my own HTML template in over 6 months. I've got a whole team in India that does all the HTML sites for me. They handle all of that. I don't like building websites, never have. So I prefer just to hire it out. Do you submit the new domain name to the indexer or the cloud hosting URL? Oh, the new domain name, always the new domain name. That's what I want. And by the way, that's why in all of my HTML sites, they always contain a canonical to the version of the URL, the homepage URL that has the highest metrics. And that is because those cloud hosted sites, those like DNS records, you can actually go visit the site on that long string, like that CNAME record. You can go view the site on that CNAME record. So Google will likely never even crawl that, but anytime that site is crawled either on the CNAME long URL or on the domain itself, and there's multiple versions, I always want it to canonicalize to the most appropriate version. So that should be the version that indexes, if that makes sense. Okay. Push on for 5 more minutes and make it an even 3 hours. You're almost done. Okay, guys, I think we're done. Audio dropped. What was the mobile site you mentioned? 600 per month. It's not a site. It's a private proxy service that I have a developer friend of mine that put it together. I don't understand any of that tech, nor do I have the desire to do it. I know that some people build their own. I don't want to go through all that shit. So I found somebody that built it all for me, and I pay a lot. And you guys, I got access. I can provide access to it at $600 a month. Just letting you know, it's super expensive. If you're doing a lot of CTR stuff though, it's fabulous. I can run, and I've never tested with more than 5 simultaneous projects at one time. But the IP rotates every 10 minutes. So I think it's like 144 IPs per day, per 24-hour period. But we can adjust that. We can do IP rotation every 5 minutes, for example, and double that. So it'd be like 288 IPs in a 24-hour period. But I've had up to 5 simultaneous CTR campaigns running on that at one time and it's never even slowed down. So I don't know if you guys are using like Turbo Boost or Turbo Proxies for CTR Booster, but that's what drove me to finding my own solutions, because I was just super frustrated with how slow they were. And so I just found my own solution. And again, a developer friend actually reached out to me. I can get you access to it. It's expensive. Just contact me privately and I'll set it up. All right. Okay, guys. Thanks everybody for being here. I'll get the replay out within the next 2 to 3 days, along with all the resources and everything else. If you guys have any additional questions about this, if you're in the mastermind, ask me there. If you're not, well, come join the mastermind. Thanks, everybody. See you.